Okay. Thursday, January 7th, 2013, meeting of the Water Quality Management Committee. Welcome to order. The gentleman from Chicago approaches the podium. Whatever. First item on the agenda is an update and discussion of the aquaculture demonstration project. Ron is here, and somebody from, John is not here, but he sent a delegate from Woods Hole Group. So who is Heidi? Welcome. Who's going to, there was an email sent around to everybody as to the current status of this program, and is it Ron, or who's going to do the talking?
I can brief you. Okay, we followed up from the last meeting with a request from the committee to flesh out a bit and to finalize the option 5 of group, and that's been done, and that's what's described in the report that you received by email. And so it's just basically some adjustments have been made, and with regard to the budget, and that is in the table that's presented. And the way it's going to work, the way there was some cost savings done because of some good thinking by the Woods Hole Group, and that basically has eliminated one seeding in the second year. So we have the seeding now in the first year, an early seed that would go in like sometime in June, possibly toward the end of June, would be the stocking of Little Pond in floating bags, as had been considered before. This plan is contingent on other permits and things that should be forthcoming, and through a process that's underway. So the seed would be bought, would arrive like by around sometime toward the end of May or sometime in May, and then it would be put in an upweller and grown to about 9 millimeter size or so, or what is that? That's about 1/3 of an inch or so, and then it would be put in bags and grown to about probably 20 millimeters, probably 3/4 of an inch or so, and then moved to bigger, larger mesh bags. And then later on, about in July, a second batch would be put out in the first year. And then at the end of the first year, which is this year, hopefully, a lot of this year's growth, particularly the second batch, will be kept over the winter in Little Pond. And then it will be grown further. A good number of them will continue growing to a size below commercial size in the second year or in 2014, at which time that next batch of small seed would be started. So this would be a sequencing. So we'd have two parallel tracks in a way, as we've talked a lot, but there's the one of the young seed and then the large, and therefore by able to use the larger, small animals still, but from this year in 2014, we then are able to continue the growth and not have to have another extra batch of seed. So, and the town has provided for this year. They have an upweller at McDougall's that they'd like us that they'd offered, basically, and that includes everything, including electricity and some maintenance by the McDougall's or the folks next door who would help out. So that's a savings. So this is the basic thing. It's quite simple in many ways. There's going to be disease testing and a lot of things happening. And the one thing that came up in the last meeting was the concern over possible disease of growing the early seed in Falmouth Harbor. And before seed is put out, it goes through a histology test for disease. And they've been doing it, Chuck Martinson has been growing seed in Great Harbor for about 6 years now, with no disease coming back of any kind.
Falmouth Harbor.
Of cohorts.
Falmouth Harbor.
Falmouth Harbor,
Gotcha.
yeah, Falmouth Harbor. Yeah, so anyway.
We knew what you meant, that's why we all said it.
Yeah, right, you guys know that. Okay, you know it better than I. So anyway, so that is the basic plan, and the cost for this is came out at $132,248, basically. But that I have to say that is short about roughly $10,000 for an upweller that we would need for the project, particularly for this year. And so we would first ask the committee if there's a way. I know it's jumping out of order, but there is a further discussion during the meeting about the funds and some things that may not be using all the money, or something that may be that would be a consideration that could be given to this. But it's not a deal breaker. It's just that it would be a nice, not nice, but it would be important. And this would be something that that the town, whether or not this project goes forward, the town, it would be very good for this project. It's a demonstration. We use these materials as a demonstration. And when the demonstration is over, depending on what the status is, all of this could revert back to the town of Falmouth, because it owns everything. So that's more or less it. There is, Virginia, you'd sent around a number of questions, and I can go through them one by one now, unless you have questions on what I've said so far, or if Heidi has something to add.
I have a question on what you've said so far.
Yeah.
You say that the upweller that we'll be using for the early seed in 2013 is going to be at McDougal's?
Right.
Okay, that was the fourth site that doesn't have an upweller yet, as I understood from the last conversation. No, there is an upweller at McDougal's.
Oh, no, it's there. It's there.
It's there,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And will that one upweller accommodate 1.25 million seed?
Yes.
Okay, so we only need that
That's
one.
right. That's fine.
Okay.
It would accommodate 2 million seed. actually.
It will, okay.
Yeah.
All right. This report on page 1 says the upweller is in Little Pond, so I just want
Oh.
You meant Falmouth Harbor.
So
Okay,
that's, okay.
okay,
But
sorry,
it's
yeah.
definitely going to be Inner Harbor.
Right.
And it's at McDougal's.
Yeah, I
Okay.
didn't catch that, sorry.
Good.
I mean, it's available, once we approve everything, there is that unit, yes.
Okay, so if that unit is there, where's the need for the 10,000?
Oh, the 10,000 is for the second batch,
Okay.
okay? And then the subsequent year, it depends, it could be used for that.
And where will the upweller be located?
The upload will be located in Falmouth Harbor also, but not at McDougal's.
Okay.
It'll be across near the a bit north of the harbor master's office. There will be, the town is planning to put 3 in, and there'll be 1 more added to that. So the reason we wouldn't use that directly for the project, it'd be the same thing, is because Chuck does not want to mix side by side oysters and cohogs.
Yeah.
So we're down the street, we're a ways down. They're not right next to each other. He just has a feeling it's just a better practice
Right.
to keep the species separate.
Okay, so then the town would ultimately have 5 upwellers.
Well, they have more than that
Okay, 5 upwellers in Inner Harbor.
in Falmouth Harbor, yeah.
Yeah.
Five, right, they have 1 now.
We have 4 now, and then we'd be on 1 more.
One now, they have plans for 3 more.
Okay, they have 1 in
4
plans for
more
that.
if we would, if they could
We-
support that,
Okay.
and then several in other harbors.
And then and we might even be able to get some nitrogen credit.
Well,
Yes, that is the whole point of the exercise. Any other questions from the committee? Steve?
Ron, as I understood it, what John presented last time was 2 million for too much money.
Yeah.
So we all agreed that he could adjust it down arbitrarily to fit the budget. So by adjusting it down to 1.5,
1.25.
you get it within the budget, except for 10,000.
Yeah.
So that begs the obvious question, what if you go to 1.2 or something?
Because
If you actually do the math and make it come out right.
Right, we'll start getting into less possibility of a clear indication of whether there's an impact or not. So we really want as much as we can do to do that, so that we can get the impact on water quality measurable.
Right. Well, I saw a chart that I think that Sia prepared that showed on some set of assumptions that you were taking care of 26% of the load, which is the same order as the standard deviation, so that's pretty good. If you decremented it by just enough to take care of the $10,000, do you go to 25.5% or do you really go down?
You cut the seed in half. I mean, if you want to get $10,000 out of seed cost, the seed cost for 1.25 million oysters is $25,000. So you get 750 seed if you want to take maybe 800,000. If you look at the table, you'd have to.
Well, would you take it all out of seed or would you take it out of the whole process?
Seed and gear.
Well, you see what I'm getting at. I don't know enough of the numbers to speak the details.
Well, this is the Woodsall Group's assessment of this, and it makes sense to me that this is a reasonable. They don't want to cut back too far because we might be going into negative returns on the thing. So we need to have a definitive, as definitive.
I don't remember any exact numbers, but it seemed like coming down by a reasonable percentage of oysters, you lopped off a lot of money, so that you would only have to lop off a little bit more oysters to save a little bit more money. But I don't want to take up time on it.
Win.
I'm just looking at the figures for 2014. Would I be correct in assuming that if we did not then decide in 2014 to put in a second late seed crop in 2014, we would not get as much as the 766 removal in 2015 if we went ahead with the project? Am I correct about that?
Yeah,
we're talking about going a step at a time, and next year we'll see whether we see how it goes, and then have the money next year to put in the extra seed. Otherwise, we wouldn't get what we wanted. Is that correct?
That's correct.
You wouldn't get the 706
And the 26%.
kilograms of nitrogen because you don't have that second crop of 1.25 million. So you're back, well, you're not quite back to 194 kilograms because the animals you have would be the second
The larger, yes.
growth.
Yes.
But
So you wouldn't get the big
right,
thing.
that's right.
And the second question is, what is a seasonal load? What is the season we're talking about for the seasonal load?
I had that question too. I believe it's 5 months of the year, so 5/12ths of the annual load.
In the summertime. So that's
It's the
taking it
summer
out
load.
during the summertime, then
Yeah.
those 5 months.
October or May to October is what.
Right. So the good time to take it out anyway.
Yeah, I have it in here. I think it's.
So we're going to have to revisit it next year and find out how we're going to get the money to conduct the second and the third years complete. Is that right?
Well, the second year is included.
But not the extra seed.
Well, that seed is not, because see, the extra seed.
It would be for the
okay,
third year.
next year is coming from this year. It's the animals will not be full size, especially the second batch. And so a lot of those will be kept in Little Pond. They'll be sunk to the bottom.
In the second year, yes, but what about the third year? If you go to the third year, where do you
The
get
third year will be the same thing. From the seed that grows in Little Pond in the second year, that will be retained, a good part of it, for the third year. And then there'd be another seeding done.
Even the early seed would be retained then?
Yes, every year.
That's a recurrent cost, though, going forward, is what it's asking,
Yeah, well,
more or less.
more or less, that would be the recurring cost to go forward, because you need another batch.
You'd need another batch, yeah, of early. You'd need another batch of early seed to get the full results.
To get to the third year, yeah.
Late season.
Excuse me, late seed. To get
And
the
over
full-
time, you'd have to replace some gear or fix some parts or whatever, but you know, roughly 30,000 plus or minus a year going forward.
All of this equipment will last a minimum of 10 years.
How much are you allowing for losses of seed of oysters?
10 to 20%.
Is it? Okay. So you're allowing for that? Okay.
And is there still the 5% contingency that Eric asked
No,
for?
there's no contingency now.
So if something goes wrong, what happens?
Well, there is a contingency, I didn't mention this, there is a contingency. One is that the Woods Hole Group is considering providing the project with an intern for this summer, which means that the labor costs will be less. And they figure about $3,000 less. And there's also been talking with Chuck Martinson today, there may even be somebody else, another intern, which the what's it called now, the DMES department they get interns, and one may be assigned to this part-time. So there is that. That would be, if that works out, it seems like it's going to, then there would be savings in labor, and that could be a bit of a...
Can you use AmeriCorps volunteers?
Yes.
It would be a huge promotion for them compared to what most people have them doing, pulling weeds and stuff.
And they also,
Well, they may, yeah,
the
go ahead.
Barnstable County Marine Program
Yeah,
on a
you
variety.
get a microphone there.
They
yeah.
also work, the AmeriCorps participants work with Barnstable County Cooperative Extension on a number of aquaculture and other marine projects, and so they're familiar with oyster aquaculture. And in particular, they help out with the Falmouth and all the other towns' oyster remote set program. So the towns get remote set oysters and distribute them throughout their harbors. And the AmeriCorps participants are just great. But I believe you have to request their time early
That's right.
You do.
in order to.
Yep.
Well, I think, yeah, once
Maybe next
this
summer.
Is, yes, I mean, we'll see, if it's this summer, next, however it works out.
Yeah.
The other group that I've worked with on aquaculture project is the Senior Corps, and I don't know if it still exists, but they were great with our White Bay nitrogen remediation project about almost 10 years ago now. So if that group still exists, they would be a really good, reliable group that showed up for us every couple of weeks and cleaned gear
Really?
well and thoroughly, yeah.
Good.
We can look into that.
Any other questions? I had a couple just looking at this.
Yeah.
As we all know, we're going to be submitting a submittal to the Conservation Commission very soon.
Tomorrow looks like a good day to stay home and work on that.
Very soon. One thing that needs to be in it is, well, a couple of things need to be in it, but the question of Narragansett Street. Have we been out there, and have we ascertained that there are no wetlands or anything that would be impacted by launching boats and such at that site? And if not, or even if so, we ought to have a fallback position for them to consider.
Right.
So
We can-
work that in here somewhere.
Right.
We had some discussions about that today, so if you're working on that tomorrow, feel free to give me a call and we can.
It's either that or I'm going to drive north and go skiing, but I think I'll stay home.
You can stay home and go skiing.
I'm not going north.
There's also a storm drain there that allows apparently access to the pond because of the
Okay.
water that washes down through the...
No, but the point he's making is, we need to have, by a person who's certified to announce or not announce whether or not there are wetland species within so many feet of the water, and so that, it's a little bit of an open question as to who to sort of
Right.
get to do that, but I think there's a couple people around that might help out for
Good.
that little stretch of the end of Narragansett Street.
Yeah, we just know it's the kind of issue that
They will want to see
they will come up with.
somebody with a, whatever it is, forget whether it's LST or PST or STP or some group of letters for the person who's authorized to say if there's a
Okay.
wetland species there.
The last paragraph,
Remember the letters?
the last paragraph, the first page, the last phrase, will be grown through a town-owned upweller from July through August. I thought that the town one wasn't available for July and August.
Oh, it would be if we buy one.
Oh, I see.
That's-
Oh, I get you.
Yes,
That's the $10,000.
that's the
Got it.
$10,000.
All right.
So
All
this
right.
is really predicated on buying.
Okay, well,
Well,
certainly by July and August. The last question, the last sentence here, in the wintertime, the bags will be maintained periodically over the winter, every few weeks. Who would be doing that, since I think the hired people are not going to be around all winter?
Be coordinated through DNR, and there would be funding for that, so,
Oh, so-
or whatever, DMSE.
Oh,
Yeah, so Chuck would be
okay, so,
basically.
but it won't be
he's
the people we're hiring for the summer.
Well, if they're still around, they may continue periodically too.
Okay, well, on this budget, I don't think we're paying them to be around all winter.
Right. Well, no, I mean, if they are around, it's just a few hours periodically to
Okay.
go out and do this.
Okay,
Or it may be something, where we compensate
okay.
the departments somehow.
On the question of the financing piece, we spent a lot of time on that at the last meeting. We unanimously adopted a budget of $132,000 for 2 years. Jerry couldn't submit it for the last selectmen's meeting. He did submit it for the next selectmen's meeting. So what the selectmen have before them for next Monday's meeting is $132,000. If we want to supplement that at a later time, we can do that, but they will vote on the 132 because that's what's in front of them from us.
But we could advise them at the meeting that there's been a change to that.
I suppose.
We've done that before with other things.
Okay, if people want to make a change.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
if that's a recommendation, if
but-
that's possible. The one thing about that is that we need to order within a week or so. The DNR needs to order the 3 units it's planning to get, and if the fourth was put in, it would be lower cost as that. So that's another dimension.
But there's a lot of things that need to be ordered real soon in this project, like the seed, like all kinds,
right, all
kinds of things.
All that could happen.
So to get this town process going, we've got to get the selectmen to have approved 132 in front of them next Monday, and to get something going, because we can't even order seed. We can't do anything right now.
Well, here's a way to use the 132,000 and still have them voted and stay on schedule. That total 132,000 includes ordering seed in 2014
That's
at
30,000.
1.25 million. So, and that's definitely not this. We're ordering that a year from now. So between now and then, we have time to
supplement.
fine tune.
True.
Manage the
And
money
figure
we
out,
got.
okay, whether we need 10,000 more. It makes sense to me to buy the upweller, and I think this plan of 2 successive early seed, late seed, I think is an interesting strategy, and I think it's worth trying.
Okay.
But let's say we're staying within the 132,000 budget with the knowledge that in 2014, if we need to tweak it, we can tweak it then. Because you won't be ordering that seed for nearly a year.
Right.
Okay.
Or paying the labor, for that matter, for that year.
There are future costs that could be.
There are future
there
costs that we
not,
may
not
be
in
able.
this growing season.
If it turns out that we come up 10,000 short, then we go back and say, in order to get through 2014, we need an authorization of another 10,000.
Right.
And it looks much more businesslike to the
It's-
selectmen
Yes.
to come in a year from now and say, blah, 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 we discovered 10, than to go in now and say, and by the way, we forgot there's another 10,000. Then the immediate thought is, what else did you forget?
So would the idea be that within this 132, there would be the 10 for the upweller?
Well, that's a policy question that I gather is being put on the table.
Yeah, it's a question. I think that because there, as I mentioned, that if we can work this out, that's great within our budget. That's the best. But with some pushback, I've gotten the possibility of providing the financing for the upweller through
All the better.
Right, yeah, you referenced that on the second page here. Yeah.
But that was what the interest would be buying an upweller. That's a specific piece of equipment.
Right.
that would be then loaned to the town for the
Loaned.
purpose of this during the demonstration period.
Would the private foundation be interested in matching so we could split the cost? Something like that? I mean, I don't know what your pushback is, but something like that, would that be appealing?
No, that would be, yeah, of course. Yeah, that would be, that would be better. But, I mean, yeah, if that's a matching, if that's helpful, but that doesn't get us, then we have to sort of, in spirit at least, commit to buying it, okay? And to going over the budget, basically, next year. And
You've developed a plan that
Yeah.
is predicated on having a fifth upweller.
well, having an upweller.
Right.
An upweller, yes.
So,
But of Chuck's current upwellers, he's not offering one to you in the time that you need it. So you need to come up with another upweller from
Right.
someplace.
Right.
In
So
July
back
and
to
August.
Virginia's statement. The plan's predicated on 5 upwellers in Little Harbor, in Falmouth Town Harbor.
yes.
No, the plan is dependent on one upweller.
But there's currently
One more.
One upweller is there. That's all we need. But the town needs 4.
They have
and
4.
They have money for 3.
Right, they have one.
Yeah.
They're going to put another 3 in, and they're going to use those 4
Well, they have
upwellers.
4 actually. 4. No, they
Whatever. The
They
town's
would have.
plan for other things other than our project is
Yeah.
to utilize all the town's upwellers that
Yes.
are there. And in order for this plan to go forward, another upweller needs to be acquired
Right.
somehow
Right.
and made functional,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Acquired or rented or borrowed or something.
And back to what Virginia's point, there is a projection of the cost for this season. You have your table. You have a projection of the cost for
right.
this season,
Right.
which is less than the money that we're asking the selectmen for.
Right.
Okay? So, from a business model, if we go in front of the selectmen, we say, we've asked you for this money. There's several pieces of this that are in flux because costs aren't known until you buy things sometimes, or you find out which labor you're going to get and everything else.
Right.
We should be straightforward with them. I wouldn't come back a year later and say, oh, whatever. I'd say, currently, because of this juggling of upwellers, if everything stays exactly on track here, we will internally be either juggling some money around or coming back looking for 10,000 more to keep the project going. And by the way, if it's really working well, there's in essence a recurring annual cost of $30,000 to get the benefit of the nitrogen removal that this project generates. That's what I hear.
Right.
Roughly speaking.
Yeah.
And roughly speaking.
But we've already gone to the selectmen asking for an extra $350,000, or will, for the inlet widening design and permitting. Right. That's in
no.
that's a town meeting article, right?
Well, no, but I mean, that's also later on here, but it's not relevant to this discussion.
No, I'm just saying though that things are moving around. So I'm just trying to put it in the context of
Right.
the way the overall budget is being considered.
I'll give you a hypothetical. You go in now and you try to get the extra 10,000 from the selectmen this year.
Yeah.
At the end of this, you discover you need another $6,250 next year. What are you going to do? You're going to go back to the selectmen for the $6,250.
Yeah.
So you don't really know what it's going to
Okay.
cost you this
Right,
year or
right.
next
Okay,
year.
that's fine.
So you get through this year and look
Yeah.
at next year.
All right.
They're all,
Well, that's-
it's flexible. I agree with Steve 100%. You can't go to the selectmen and say, you know that 132,000 we asked you for last week, now we need more. They wouldn't take that from any of their own departments, and they're not
Right,
going
right.
to take it from us.
Okay.
And it's just bad presentation.
Okay.
So we're stuck with that number for now.
That's fine. All right, so let's stay with that, and we'll work it out.
Okay.
Next, when we know more.
Now, in terms of acquiring this new upweller, what's the foundation situation?
Well, the thing is that I think that we'll just purchase it using the budget we have now, with this budget,
Yeah.
and then we'll come back and consider what happens next year.
What happened to the private foundation?
The foundation may be there next year.
But they wouldn't be buying us an upweller next year.
No, I know, I won't be buying an upweller
Would
next year.
this private
so-
foundation want to use this upweller that they've paid for while it's sitting on town property?
No, can't.
They would want to take it someplace else.
They'd have to take it somewhere else.
I think it's cleaner that we perceive these as, this is town equipment, this is going to be town seed, it's going to be relayed to town shellfish areas. So I wouldn't base my vote or plan on involving a nonprofit.
Right.
Okay.
Maybe the
I
nonprofit would,
would just keep it straight, clean, simple. This is a town demonstration project. Equipment is ours. And if ultimately we don't go forward, then the equipment becomes the shellfish warden's equipment, town of Falmouth.
maybe they'd like to pay for half, maybe they'd like to pay for something else later on. We don't know who they are or what they want,
And it's a
and apparently we're not
distraction
going to
at
know
this
that tonight. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's real though.
well, what is it?
No,
Well-
the Coonamessett Farm Foundation is willing to basically subsidize the town of Falmouth program.
To what
Okay,
extent?
if there's no other way to do it.
There's no other way to
Basically,
do
if
it.
the town resources, because there's other demands on the funding, but this is considered a very high priority from the foundation standpoint.
Well, crunch time is 2014. We have enough money to do what we need to
We
do.
can get started.
In a very
Okay.
clear-cut way, and so that's, I think, how
Okay.
we should proceed in
Okay,
2013.
so by accepting this program, we're accepting the new upweller and accepting the idea that it should be paid for out of the 132.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
And I just would like to,
Oh.
I just would like to, just a little addition, a little math. We're going to be asking for, at 2014, if we want to go forward with this project to 2015, we're going to be asking for about $55,000. That includes
Right.
the upweller, includes extra seed, and it includes the 30-some-odd thousand dollars to go forward. So that's where we are.
Right, by then we'll know. if
By
it's-
then, we'll know whether it's worthwhile
Exactly.
doing it.
Right. Steve?
Just this is a question as to the available secondary market to resell the seed, because as we know, or it's like some people on this board or whatever know because of where we're at. I have not prepared a notice of intent for the Conservation Commission because I didn't know what plan we had until now.
Of course.
So it's unlikely, in my opinion, but it's a possibility that the Conservation Commission makes what's called a positive determination on a notice of intent, which means that you have to file a full thing, and that they then have reservations or issues and we don't get Conservation Commission approval for this program. Not likely, but possible. So during that time frame that that's happening, we are going to place an order for seed and make a commitment of money.
Yes.
If the Conservation Commission says, for whatever reason, something comes up, that in all our best thinking we haven't figured out, can we turn around and resell that seed back to somebody or to another party?
It should be, it will definitely be sellable.
Sellable. It's a sellable-
from the producer.
It's a sellable product. That's all I want to be sure of. That
Yes.
it's not like buying
We
that.
can't bring it and put it in the water here and then sell it from here.
We can't put it in
do
the
that.
water until we get Conservation Commission approval to a certain extent.
No, right, exactly, but we can't, in other words, it would have to go directly from the
If-
Our risk factor is low. Our risk factor is low in
yeah.
terms of placing an order for seed.
It's a,
Well,
Good.
with the exception of the fact that once we acquire it, it's town property, and you can't just sell that to who you like. You have to go through a process to.
Well, we're ordering it, but we don't take delivery.
Yeah, the different phraseology here, but my point is, it's not a, once you make that, you're in. There's some escape process in there if we had to
Yeah.
figure it out. Okay,
Yeah,
that's all I care
sure,
about.
yeah.
We've had good cooperation from the
Excellent.
Conservation Commission. You put on a pretty good presentation with John for about an hour a couple of months ago with them. I think they're attuned to what we're trying to do. They understand the whole purpose of this is to clean up the water body in the town, and I would expect them to treat this fairly.
I was going down the
Right, the what if.
extreme,
Yeah.
extreme contingency.
Yeah.
right. That's good.
Okay.
It's good to have
And
the
we
worst
did
case
talk
scenario.
today that there
Yeah.
is a cancellation policy. I mean, we talked about
Good.
it in the context of the
Good.
upweller, and if we
Okay.
didn't get an upweller in time for that second seed, it was clear that that you can cancel and not, you don't prepay, for example. So
Don't.
they're not asking for a deposit. You
Right.
place the
Terrific.
order.
Okay.
And there's sort of no strings attached.
Good
So
enough.
I think that they have a
Good.
pretty liberal cancellation policy, so I think that.
Good enough.
Good.
Good enough. Yep.
All right. Well, so there is a consensus then that this submittal, as commented upon with the changes that people are talking about, is our submittal, and we're on board with us.
I move to accept the revised plan.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I have other issues.
Oh, right, you
The
did
plan
have-
is fine.
Okay.
And it's not that we have to resolve them tonight, it's just that the notice of intent needs to be very comprehensive. You need to think the entire project through, and you need to have contingencies for storms, for lack of labor, if the mouth of the little pond gets stuffed up suddenly, just a regular storm, you know, when we start going anoxic and we have fish kills, what do you do with $1.5 million?
Well, Virginia has made her points in an email that
Yes.
presumably Woods Hole Group received, and you've seen,
Yeah, right.
and you
Well,
can incorporate the answers to those in
Yes.
this.
Well,
And so-
many
so-
of them are in there, but some
Yeah.
weren't relevant. But but I can just go through them quickly in the response.
I think Virginia's trying
I
to
don't think we
point
need
out,
to.
these are the sort of things that
Yes.
Concom's going to ask us, so we should have
Right.
answers
Yeah,
for the Concom.
we know
Okay.
we know you have the
We-
answers, but they need to see the answers.
Right,
Okay.
no, I've got them written down.
I just have one question on this report, and that had to do with the storm management. What you say is, we recommend that the Water Quality Management Committee prepare a storm management plan. And I was a little surprised at that. Why wouldn't the Woods Hole Group, who's going to be presenting this to the Concom, why wouldn't they be preparing the plan? And so I'm just looking at the aquaculture subcommittee.
We don't have subcommittees anymore.
The Woods Hole Group.
It could be added to the scope of work. I'm not sure it was in the
Oh.
scope, but surely we could work with you. The other thing is, we need to work with the town pretty extensively if in fact all the gear had to be pulled out and put somewhere. We need
Right.
to know where you'd
Where
want
would
to put
go.
it and that sort of thing. So we can certainly help with that or
Have you had conversations with Chuck about
Yeah.
storm?
There's several things. Just with the, on the storm first. If we have a hurricane, this issue is going to be pretty easy compared to like what else is happening to infrastructure in Falmouth.
All right.
For most of the time though, these systems are not that, they're down in the water.
Yeah.
And they move up and down, and if
Okay.
they get washed up on the beach,
Yeah.
you take them and put them back in the water,
Okay.
basically. So there is something to that effect, but you know, oysters, you know, traditionally were shipped live
Would you mind speaking
to
on the next
Ohio
topic?
on trains, right?
Real-
You know,
yes.
off season. So
Wow.
it's like, or Chicago, or wherever it is, they can handle it. You know, unless it's really hot,
Okay.
then it'd be a problem. But normally, gear would then be just put back in the water pretty as quickly as you could get to it, if it were a serious storm. And the thing is, as I say, if we look at historic pictures,
Wonderful.
it's
Ron,
Okay.
the other thing.
go ahead.
The other thing you can do in a storm is sink the gear so it's not subject to
Right.
so much wave
Yeah.
action.
Good point.
And so
Maybe that's the answer.
Good point.
that might be one preparation option.
And it's not 1938, so have a little more advance warning.
No,
Well, you never know where they're gonna
right,
go.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, it doesn't have to be a serious storm. It just has to be perceived ahead of time that it will be, right? If you have a boat at a mooring,
Yeah.
you have to decide before
That's true.
it's blowing 65 knots
Right.
what you're going to do. And often you do something and then it blows 20.
Right, we've done that.
So you have the expense in either case.
Okay.
Also,
Right.
on the little pond question, if it gets plugged up, it's fine. It's actually maybe be better. Because what will happen is that the salinity will drop. And then that will probably shocks a lot, any pathogens that are around, they don't like low salinity. Oysters are okay.
Oh,
They can withstand it.
No
And-
kidding.
I mean, and these things are open. It happened twice this fall. It got closed up. And they had it open within a couple of days or a few days. so,
okay.
yeah.
Great.
Okay.
As long as you've thought of those things, because I'm sure they will come up.
Right. Okay,
Thank
so
you.
we have a motion and a second to accept the presentation as, the program as revised. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And thank you both for all of you for all your work. You in particular, and you in particular
Well,
this week.
Yeah, I know. This has been a major big team effort. I think.
Well, it's come a
What's
long
all
way,
good.
and I think it's a superior product.
And another important thing is that the state now is very supportive.
Getting
and
excited.
very interested about it. Whereas at the beginning when we had that, I don't know if you came to that first meeting, the regulatory meeting we had 2.5 years ago now almost. They were a little uncertain at that point, less certain, and right now they're interested.
That's
so.
great.
And they revised the shellfish planting guidelines based on a lot of the work we've been doing to accommodate and mention some of these things. So,
Terrific,
yeah.
terrific.
So a kudos to Jerry Moles and his crew.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay,
Is it appropriate for me to let Chuck know tomorrow about he's eager to put an RFP
Yeah.
out, and he wants to know that.
We just have to go through the selectmen and get.
to be fair, all of this
Yeah.
has to
Oh,
go to the
that's-
selectmen on Monday, so
Right,
so
right.
maybe,
After Monday, I can let him know that pending the selectmen.
Tell them we're on board, but the selectmen have the final vote.
that's right.
Yep.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the update and discussion of the treated effluent outfall option and the Coalition for Buzzards Bay meeting held on January 18th. Steve Rafferty was there.
Yep. John Waterbury, myself and Ray Jack attended a meeting.
Me too.
And Eric was our chauffeur.
Right.
I'm sorry, I thought you introduced it. At the Buzzards Bay Coalition's office over in New Bedford, and there were, I don't know, 30 plus people in the room, ranging from the folks from the MWRA that oversee and manage water quality monitoring for their outfall in Mass Bay, to the U.S. Coast and Geodetic Survey groundwater hydrologists for Cape Cod, to representatives of the Sierra Club, the Cape Cod Alliance. And in essence, it was, by and large, an assembly of advocacy groups and scientific entities. There was noticeably nobody from any regulatory groups there, and that was an intentional, it was an invite meeting by the Coalition for Buzzards Bay. And it really got predicated by, in some ways, both what we put into our plan that went forward, as well as some pushes by a couple of other people of, we can't just keep saying no outfall when we've come so far with understanding so much about what's going on with nitrogen, what's going on with groundwater, and what's going on with the estuaries, that taking this out of the conversation and the equation is really, for lack of a better word, it's penny wise and pound foolish. So there was representative of the fishing folks and stuff in there. And so no decisions were made in this day. It was just a better understanding of what's it mean to have an outfall? What's it mean to have the effluent we would have from a treatment facility, whether it was here or in Barnstable or, on the other side of Buzzards Bay even, and where that might or might not discharge to, and how that would affect any water balance for the Cape, whether that's a transfer of flows, and how, from a scientific standpoint, what we know and don't know, and what we might want to know if we were going to go further with the thought of an outfall option ever, okay? And so it was kind of an interesting conversation, because people talked about what they know about sort of flow models in and out of mouths of estuaries and up and down the bays and transport fates and things like that, and the background information that you would want to collect prior to actually ever building an outfall, so you have a base to say, much like we've been going through on Little Pond, is there a change that you can see? And if there's a change in the first year when you have something in service, is it really a function of what you've put in service, or is it just part of the normal cycles that you get at any given time, right? Weather is what we have today. Changes in the weather is from today to tomorrow. But climate change takes place over a long period of time. Just because it's warmer today or colder tomorrow doesn't mean the climate's getting warmer or colder. So it was that baseline stuff and looking at the long time. I think at the end of it, again, nobody said, we really think you should be building an outfall. But I think it was a valuable sort of informational meeting. And I would characterize that it's sort of like balls in court for whomever wants to then pick up and say, we think at the end of the day, cost for this versus cost of that, or limitations for this or advantages of that, warrant coming back into looking at the outfall. So we've held it open as an option. This group understands and in some ways at a scientific level supported that it should not be an option ruled off the table. Maybe legally it's off the table, but not from a science perspective should it be off the table. And that's as far as we got, I would say. From a science perspective, it should not be off the table. It's not like this is just bad, it should never be done. In fact, it might be better and should be considered. Is I think where we wound up in the whole process. Is that fair representation?
Yeah. The most striking thing to me was the presentations by the NWRA, because as we know, they put an outfall into Boston, 21 miles outside of Boston Harbor, into Cape Cod Bay, that takes 300 million gallons of secondarily treated effluent, not even as treated as much as we treat it, but secondarily treated a day, and it has no impact whatsoever on the marine environment. After 10 years of before, during, and after studies. So that was news to a lot of the people in the room, and sort of striking.
And that's what the MWRA said? I mean, they presented that information?
They actually brought in their monitoring report for the last 2 years. They ran a video that they took at the outfall, diffusers showing, it showed all the marine growth and the fish and everything swimming by them. And they gave part of it was the U.S. Coast and Geodetic Survey folks talked to what they had participated in building the models originally, the variances in their models, and then when they got running, what they saw and how that fit together over time, et cetera, et cetera. So,
Matt?
So was there no impact, or I've heard that it was a slightly positive impact?
Well, I guess
stimulating
the fish
growth.
around the vents.
this would be the amount of flow that they put out sounds like a big number when you say 300
But
million
it's-
gallons.
yeah.
But the dominant force in Mass Bay is the flow coming out of the Merrimack River, which is so large that most of the time it's setting up a counterclockwise gyre in Mass Bay, and so it's creating an ongoing mixing arrangement. So if you think, 300 million gallons of fresh water is being dumped into Mass Bay, it's relatively, secondary effluent is relatively clean. It's probably as clean as a lot of rivers were for a long time, maybe on any given day, plus or minus of that. But what really is setting the water quality in Mass Bay at any given moment is what's coming out of the Merrimack River. Okay? So that was one of the early things, and the monitoring over time and the continued monitoring, they haven't found any localized algae blooms or anything of that sort, ever. Ever. The actual original plan had a whole big reserve in there of, in X number of, they didn't talk about this, but after 7 years, the MWA committed that they would, within 7 years of putting secondary online, start building BNR, in essence upgrading it to the quality of the plant we have down here, if nitrogen, which they had no idea of the nitrogen they were putting out there, would or would not have an impact in Mass Bay, if it was determined that nitrogen had an impact in Mass Bay, and they've never seen that impact, okay? The positive impact has been, I think more, Matt, that getting all of those, what they weren't treated and not releasing it right in the mouth of the harbor has raised the quality of the nearshore environment by quite a bit, and therefore other things that happen in the nearshore environment are more viable, and that's having a positive effect on other biology out in the bay.
Wow.
Short story, that's my short perspective of it.
Just as a couple of questions, and this is probably not, we're looking at, I have two questions. One is that, the discussion so far has been largely like putting it off Nobska Point, right, is a possibility of an outfall, right?
That was a location years ago, yes.
Right, that's
But we haven't, we didn't pick a spot.
No, I know, I'm not saying, I'm just saying, but did the Buzzards Bay Coalition also consider an outfall which would be much closer and cheaper to build in Buzzards Bay?
We didn't consider any location for an outfall in this discussion.
It's going to improve the bay.
No.
Well, that's an interesting point, because I understand what you're getting at here. But
I would say,
it didn't get to be site-specific.
Okay.
Buzzards Bay was part of the conversation.
very much. Yeah, this conversation really, just like we didn't have regulators in saying you can't do it, it's against the law. We didn't say, is an outfall at this location better than an outfall at this location? It was much more a conversation about, was the concept of an outfall a bad concept? And was there pieces of science that would have to be done for any location, or comparing any locations, or finding a location for an outfall that would have to be done? And what do we know now, and what do we need to know if we're going forward? So that was a good conversation at that level.
Right. The second thing has to do with the water supply, effective hydrology, which steps back a ways.
Right.
And moving the fresh water from these areas in East Falmouth, and how that may affect any mounding or any kind of an effect like that. That side of it, going back, because it was what Jeff, we asked him, he said, yeah, that has to be studied. I don't know if the USGS people ever.
Well, that's a good question. The interesting thing is, in the conversation, people pointed out that the town withdraws their water from a couple of locations and is currently transferring water into places to raise the groundwater level by a small fraction compared to other things, and that in fact taking that back from that area and putting it back someplace else would restore the groundwater tables in those peninsulas closer to their natural states.
Right.
Yes,
It could.
That point has been made by the water department several times because people tend not to think about that.
Right.
That we've actually artificially raised the water table a small amount in all of the peninsulas and any parts of town that are receiving water but don't have a well that's withdrawing water.
Right. My only question with that is that if there's an mounding effect there, and that basically slows the groundwater flow out to the sound because you've got this water here, with taking it away, would that move slightly faster, and then Long Pond level may drop faster? And they drop more. It's just
It won't affect Long Pond.
Yeah, the scale of the numbers is people are up there probably with big charts and little numbers. And 35 years of groundwater levels and data.
Then the related thing is, of course, we'll be treating water at great cost, and this is still an issue over how water is valued and the way it's priced as well. We don't know yet. But,
Okay. Next item here, update and discussion on the SMAS contract, data deliverables and the monitoring. Jerry's not here, so
What happened to Jerry?
his wife has some issue with it he had to be home for.
Yeah, so he put me in charge.
Oh, okay.
So SMAS has a contract they are in the process of executing. And they had, so the contract, and it's going to be two separate contracts. One is going to be for the analysis of the historic data, and a separate contract for the baseline monitoring. So that's the way these two contracts are going to go. They're going to be two separate contracts signed with the town. And the first one is going to be for getting us the historical analysis and the actual data that we've been waiting for. That was due the 31st
of
January 2013. There was some staff health challenges, and we're hopeful that it's forthcoming, that we won't be pushed out too far from last Thursday's deadline. Stay tuned.
You're in the unenviable position of having to provide excuses for SMAS. Did they give any indication of when they might?
Eminently.
Maybe sooner.
Okay.
They're working on it now, and maybe even tomorrow. So that's when that deliverable is expected.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask, do we have a liquidated damages clause in our contract with them?
We didn't have a contract yet. In fact, has it been signed?
It hasn't even been signed, I know.
I do not seem to recall a liquidated damages clause in that contract particularly.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
We'll work together.
Soon.
Everything takes longer than you think, including this.
Yes.
Everything.
The Woods Hole group isn't here, but I think the fact that the information may come a week or two or three later than they expected or were promised shouldn't impact what they're doing, since they're really not going to have anything to measure for a while yet. Is that a fair statement, I hope? They
have not provided a full Tech Memo 2 or a full Tech Memo 3, and in Tech Memo 2, there was supposed to be an analysis of the baseline monitoring, but since they haven't done the Tech Memo, they're going to have a chance to look at the baseline data. So it's all working out.
Yeah. Just one thing on this bullet point. It says an aquaculture monitoring. Isn't this monitoring program-wide? I mean, isn't just real important to the aquaculture, right? It's also important to. I mean, it's related as it is to the other.
There was a specific extra level of scrutiny that was going to be done in Little Pond around the aquaculture.
Okay.
Remember
Right, I remember
the
that,
sampling
yeah.
we did last
That's what
August?
this is talking
Okay, that's what it means, okay, I
Right.
just didn't know if it's
No.
broader, but
Yeah, no, it's
more specific to
definitely.
that, yeah, okay.
At the risk of opening up an issue that may be closing, I don't remember it well. Have we committed to using SMAS to do the monitoring while we're working in Little Pond?
I believe the answer is no. I think that they proposed a monitoring plan, which we said we would review before we actually decided that it was the plan we wanted. We got to a point where we agreed on the plan, but that was without knowing where the seed was going to go. So my memory was that it was still left open for.
We approved,
Further discussion.
the committee voted to approve their proposal, accepted the proposal with a not-to-exceed number.
Not to,
And it's about $75,000. That included the analysis of the historic data, the pre-oyster analysis that was done, looking at the data from last summer, and then doing a baseline monitoring program for the first season of the oysters. And that was something the committee did agree to those
So
things.
we did agree to all steps, okay.
With a not-to-exceed number, and the clause in their scope that you agreed on is that the specific number of sampling points and the timing of the sampling was going to be vetted through regulators and through the shellfish consultant before a final determination on the number
Right.
right.
Okay.
and location of those spots is. In here, in Withhold Group's proposal, they do make some comments about the SMAS monitoring plan being generally acceptable. They'd like to see the historical data.
So that's an aspect of getting this, tying up, if you will, loose ends on this plan for Little Pond is making sure that now that we've got a plan that we're funding to, that SMAS's approach has gone to whomever to make sure that there's some understanding. Okay.
Good.
And looking at that pre-oyster sampling from last summer is important to them.
Ron?
Don't we have, aren't they giving us like 6 years or something of analyzed data? Was that part of the plan?
That's
For the
definitely,
past-
definitely.
Which included not just Little Pond, but.
Yes.
Right, for
Yeah.
all the water bodies,
Yeah.
That was
right.
January 31st.
Right.
No, I know it was when it was due, but
Well,
that, yeah.
That's also in
Just
there.
for clarity's purpose, we have two contracts. Have they been signed by anybody yet? And what is involved in each one, just so that the rest of us can,
They
because this
have
is,
not been signed, they have been prepared, they have been sent over to SMAST. They are in SMAST's court right now. We are encouraging them to move on that, so
Okay.
phone calls and emails. And the two contracts have one contract, there is one contract right now before them to sign. And that is for two things. One is the release of the historic data and an analysis for the 6 estuaries, starting Little West Falmouth and Ponds, I think. And the pre-oyster culture analysis from last summer, so analyzing the special stuff they did last summer.
right,
That's the contract.
okay.
The next contract that will be developed and executed is for the monitoring.
Okay, and where is that right now?
That is in process.
Here. So it hasn't gone to them?
It has not gone to them yet. We have that one.
Okay,
That's the one I was referring to.
okay. All right, any further comments or questions on this? Steve Layton, Oyster Pond CWMP contract, how's it going?
It's out of the hands of the selection committee. It's in the hands of, I guess, the town manager and his advisors. And we should hear soon.
Okay,
I can add that it's on the selectmen's agenda for announcement on Monday night. They will be announcing
So they have made the choice.
they will be announcing it Monday night. It was on, it should be,
But I mean, they have been
Yes.
given a name to announce.
yeah, I mean,
They don't do any thinking on Monday night.
No,
They just
no, they
read
won't.
hey,
something.
wait, let's,
Wait a minute, you just accused the selectmen of not.
In connection with that issue.
Steve, we're on television.
Just want to be clear.
The minutes
They
will
will.
not reflect what you just heard.
taking it out of context, right. So the same way all the RFP awardees are announced at a selectmen's meeting. It just happens to be this Monday night. Probably a good meeting for somebody to, the water quality committee to be at.
Yes,
What's going on there?
yes. Okay, well, that's good. Update and discussion of town meeting article. I think Sia sent around Article 24, which is in the annual town meeting. And it was written by the town manager's office in a broad fashion so that the article is one thing. The motion is where the details will be made. And the details obviously have not been worked out by the selectmen or the town finance committee or anybody else. So the article is very broad. It just says, to see if the town will appropriate a sum of money for the purposes of funding, design, construction, and any other costs relating to implementation of the town's Comprehensive Wastewater Management Plan and regulatory requirements associated with permitting the wastewater treatment system. So that covers everything that we've suggested they should do, everything that Jerry and Ray have suggested they should do, and what they end up doing will be up to the selectmen and the town meeting. But that's the umbrella article that would allow them to, all these things to be taken up.
And we have sent them the suggested breakdown
Right.
of the 9 million, including ours and including other people's as well.
Right. They
have that in
They
our...
have our
They have
input. From here on out, it's in their court.
Okay.
I just have one point. In think, is the motion is based on this table that was prepared with?
Not necessarily. I mean, who the motion from the finance committee could look like that. It could look like something completely different. This is only something we suggested to them as a guideline of what we thought was a good idea.
I see. Okay, so this was worked out with the DPW overall, though, right? This thing. So the only thing is that that's fine. The article language is broader than what's here.
Right.
Okay. All right. I just want
Yeah,
to
that was intentional by the town manager.
Okay.
They don't want to show up at town meeting and find that they left something out and that now they can't do anything about it. So they write these the articles as broadly as possible.
Okay.
What the motion will be as narrow as anybody wants it to be, or as specific.
Does the motion get published in advance?
Oh, yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
That goes in the warrant.
So and then
With a
this
recommendation.
would go on whatever comes out of this table, whatever table it is, that would then
Goes in the
be
warrant.
what the ballot question will be based on in May. At least the amount
Right.
of funding, the dollar amount,
Right.
or whatever it would be
Right.
for this, which would be like a DPW water question. Right.
Again, however it goes
I think
together.
we also should say, just for clarity, that Article 25, this is Article 24. Article 25 is, again, broad language, but it's for the water filtration plant. The total $9 million package, and this is the bonding window that we have this year,
Right.
included the funding that the DPW declared was sufficient for their water filtration plant. So the selectmen are going to be deciding on both Articles 24 and 25, and together we would expect or hope that we would end up with a package that was the $9 million window.
And that we get what we want, we hope.
That's, yes, right. And I think at some point we'll be making a case, for it, but the selectmen have been provided with all of that detailed information.
So I just have one question. My memory is correct, the design costs for the phase 1 and 2 work was estimated about $10 million from Falmouth Heights to up to Wacoit Bay, right? Wasn't that an estimate of, there was a $100 million figure or something, and then it was
Don't have anything in front of us. do they?
That was the review.
design-
The review
design
committee
work.
had that. That was
Review
even
committee
before
had
this
it.
committee was
Right,
created. Yeah. And you're right. It was 100 million was the number they pulled out of the air to describe.
Well, that was the SRF thing, right? Because that was how much we could get.
All those numbers are 2 years old and
Right, okay.
and not being pursued.
Okay.
So.
Well, the only question I had is that when I did the analysis, just in comparing what's on this table to that $10 million figure, based on the Little Pond, Mara Vista area were, if the cost, which probably will be higher because they're further out, but if it was stayed the same, we'd be at about 12.5 million for design cost based on a per household, kind of a percentage, because it was 10, and now because this 4.5 estimate is, and plus 5 from, or 4.5 or whatever, for 450,000, I mean, from Article 17, ends up being close to 12.5 million for the design from the original 10 that was thought of. Yeah, in other words, what I'm saying is that things are on the design side in terms of Bourne's Pond Inlet and this are a bit higher than what the estimates were coming out of the previous committee. Yeah.
And
No, I'm just pointing this out that some of these things, as we get into it, think costs are.
I don't think Bourne's Pond Inlet widening was part of that.
Well, no, it was 350,000 to do inlet widening, let's just say design and permitting, but now it's 700,000.
Okay, we can get into that when you get into the item you wanted to talk about. Yeah.
Okay, so I was just talking about in the articles, so we'll talk about it in more detail. Okay, good point.
Update and discussion of the permeable reactive barrier, initial meeting with the consultant on February 5th. I was there, Virginia was there, Sia was there. Do you still have to leave the room for these things? The firm...
just to state, I guess it should be clear that I work for the same firm that the town has retained to do this work, and so I will abstain from any votes that impact either direction or scope to them, or costs, or anything having to do with that. But I think I'm allowed to know what goes on in a public meeting.
Fair enough.
So
fair enough. You could go home and watch us on television, but you can also stay here.
but just be noted, I will not vote on any motions or articles having to do with the permanent reactive barrier scope of work, as long as the firm I work for is engaged by the town.
Do you want to say something about that, or I can, or you can, or just to get people up to speed?
Well,
Is it okay? I can't even speak. Okay, I'm not, it's fine. If I'm not. If you've served longer than I have, so if the advice is to stay out of the discussion, I am more than willing to stay out of the discussion.
yeah.
That's fine.
So,
Right.
But I can listen, right? Okay.
Well, the firm met, and one of the things that they're doing that will prove helpful to us, we hope, is they're doing the same thing on Long Island as they're doing for us. And they're about 6 months ahead of us on Long Island. So the one thing we asked for was send us everything you've done on Long Island, because it's very similar topography and soils and issues. So that I think will prove useful. They've got a very strict timetable as far as determining what the criteria are, what the best locations are likely to be, picking 20 sites, narrowing it down to 4 in the end, all within the next 6-month window.
right.
We made it clear to them there's a lot of local knowledge here, and that we're not going to pay them to discover where things are in Falmouth. We're going to contribute local knowledge in depth so that their vetting process will be enhanced, and they won't be telling us things we already know.
Right. There's a public participation component to it. They've already gotten the GIS maps from the town, and they will begin to look exhaustively within the West Falmouth watershed, and then the watersheds on the south side that are part of our area of concern. So it's a total of 6 watersheds in all, to see any, first to see any sites where a permeable reactive barrier could be installed, and then try to screen that down to 20, and then begin to look more at specifics, and ultimately get down to 4 sites. Yeah.
Does one of the watersheds include Walkout Bay and that whole embayment
It
area?
includes the west side of Walkway Bay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. You were there. Any comments or observations that we missed?
I think they're trying to be creative about funding sources, trying to uncover potential places where these can be funded, and I think we also impressed on them that when they're conceiving of a project, we need to think about how we're gonna measure results. You know, sort of the same song that we've been singing with all these projects.
Right, pounds per dollar, or dollar per pound, or however we do it here.
Are
Matt?
they going to take a look at Ken Foreman's installation in Wacoit Bay?
Yes,
Yes.
they actually were going to get in touch with him.
Yes, they actually were going to get in touch with him.
Aren't there two of them there? One in Wacoit Bay
There's
and one in
another
Charles
one
River?
on
Charles River, is it? Or?
Childs River, yeah.
Installed by,
Pio Lombardo.
Oh, really?
really, on Charles?
Yeah.
In a private property?
I'm trying to remember the guy's name. Yeah, but there is one there.
Why was
Okay.
it installed?
When?
Why?
It was an experiment.
Which is
It was an experiment. I don't know if Ken
I-
Foreman was involved with that too, but
No, because the only other one I knew about was just in front of Seacoast Shores. The president of Seacoast Shores allowed his particular property.
well, that's
Okay,
Is
so
that the one? Oh,
he's the one.
Oh, he's the one. Okay.
So it's not right on Wacoit Bay. It's on Charles
Charles
River.
River.
John Charles
Okay,
River.
I thought it was on Wacoit Bay, but anyway. In any case, it's on their list to talk to Ken.
Okay.
Another thing on their list is to schedule a meeting with the Conservation Commission and let them know,
Overview.
give them an overview of what they do, what they know, and what they're proposing to do here.
I was just wondering, so they're doing something on Long Island, right?
Yes.
So could that be a huge savings for us if we let them do it there and we would then learn from that demonstration? That would then, if it works, then we would go ahead with, we'd skip the demonstration phase and just go to the implementation, you know?
Well, that's the point.
Yeah.
It's just something to think about.
Sure.
Because if they're going ahead there, it's,
Right. Very similar
if
geography.
it's similar, yeah, if it is, it should be. I mean, we
Yeah.
have to look at it and see,
Yeah.
but it's just, it would be very
Yeah.
interesting if it's, you know, because it's climate-wise and everything
Sure.
else.
That's why we asked them to send us everything that they're doing there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they said they would.
Okay.
The only thing that might be different is the regulatory procedures. But
Well, I mean, all of that could be, we could
yeah,
focus on, yeah, good point, we could focus on.
Well, in fact, the regulatory procedures are a very important component.
exactly.
Because in order to have a barrier that's significant, you probably need to have it within the resource
to be,
area. It's
yeah.
almost
Well,
bound to be.
in the tidal area.
That's right. Yeah, I'm talking with Jen McKay about this. It's like if you use so many, if it's over 2 acres of area within the thing, then suddenly it jumps up to another classification.
Yes.
There's another
Yes.
procedure step that
That's right.
would go in that, but the design work would help identify.
They also said very briefly, and we didn't really get time to go, that there are apparently 2 techniques. One is the one we sort of have the mental picture of, which is the trench, which
Yeah.
is what we have out in Wacoit Bay. But there apparently is another one that's basically cylinders. And I gather they're bored in, rather than a huge thing digging a big trench.
Oh, and then
And then they fill the
Fill-
cylinders.
they fill the cylinders.
Yeah.
Are they,
Yeah.
how far away are they?
Well, again, we didn't get into any details, but it's the first time I've heard of 2 techniques for a permeable reactive barrier. One of the concerns about permeable reactive barriers is if it's too dense, the water, the groundwater, which is moving in this direction, will instead
Go
go over, go under, go
No.
around,
It's the other way around.
or go slow.
It's more permeable, is that what you're saying?
I discussed this once with a gentleman who can't talk now.
Okay.
In fact, the permeability of the barrier is lower.
Yes.
So it actually collects,
Preferentially.
and that's why you can get away with the cylinders.
Okay.
Okay.
I see. Okay, got it. So anyway, it was obviously a discussion with a lot of potential, and it's going to move fairly quickly in the next 6 months.
Wouldn't, in line with what Ron said, the obvious thing would, they should talk to the regulators to see what, if any, tiny modifications might or might not be needed to the Long Island project to make that data acceptable. I mean, the regulators have to say at some point, they have to show that they're reasonable. I mean, if something,
At what point is that?
no, I mean,
And
well,
we're
all
on
right.
TV.
What town is that?
That,
Philosophical statements 2 times
well,
a night.
that something doesn't have to be shown that it works in every possible location. Or else, I mean, if you continue that ad nauseum, by definition, nothing is ever approved as a standard item.
Yeah.
It's always experimental.
Well, that's been the Massachusetts way. But if there are any two places that are similar, it would be the south coast of Cape Cod and the south coast of Long Island.
Right.
And I agree with you. Yeah, there ought to be some benefit of learning from what they did applicable here.
So a lot of excitement about it, and stay tuned.
Yeah. Okay, further discussion or questions or comments on that one? Discussion on policy of membership on advisory boards of outside groups. 2 and possibly 3 of us have been asked to be, I know Wynn has, I know I have, and I think others have been asked to be advisory members of outside groups. Legally, Frank Duffy says there's nothing wrong with it as long as there's no financial relationship between our activities on the committee and the group. I suppose the policy question is, some of these groups are going to be coming before this committee. Some may actually be coming for financial relationships or more than just recommendations, which we're happy to give them. Do we want to have a policy on this, or do we want to just let everybody join when they're asked and then not vote when things come up? What do you think we should do with this? You've been the most recently affected because you couldn't vote when the MBL had something.
That was different though, because it was a contractual thing that was coming to the town. That was different. In the case now, it's the group that we've already sent a letter of support for to study the the interfaces between the shore and nitrogen coming through to the sea. So all it would be is that I'd be a technical advisor. Frank thought this was okay. He didn't see anything. So to them, with my technical knowledge, or just have feedback as in a discussion on what they're doing, and that I would not be engaged in any way, as I would not receive any pay for this, but or any compensation. So it would be something that would only be that I would be privy to information that would be publicly available. And so it isn't. There's no. It could only strengthen. Provided I think I'll be able to convey whatever knowledge I get from this to the committee, so we can know, just as an update. But most of what will happen will be publicly, because it's a federal research, and so it would be, if it happens, and it would be information coming to us as it would the rest of the planet, really, and beyond maybe. But basically, yeah. So it's more in that capacity. So.
Wynn?
In my case, I think I was asked originally because they needed to go through they needed to have someone like me from the town board, on there. It looked better if they had it. It was something they needed to set, something they had to cross off, had to have available. And so I don't know what they would want with me or what they would do with me. I was just asking, I was thinking to myself, if another person or group that was doing the same thing asked me also at the same time to be also a member of their group, if they were given the thing, would there be any reason for me to say no to that? Or if I go with one, is there any reason why I can't go to say yes, I'll participate in any one of them if you get the, if you are the one that gets this grant to do whatever it is they're going to do? Would there be any problem with that?
Virginia?
Well, I think the first part is the key part from Frank Duffy, and he does not see a problem with a member of this Selectmen's Advisory Committee working on an unpaid position on another advisory committee.
Right.
Correct? Okay. Then I think the committee's policy would simply be that you should notify the committee by an email what the group is and what you expect that you will be doing with the group, so that we're all aware of that. Once you're definitely on the committee. I mean, if you've been invited and then it ultimately doesn't materialize, then, you know. But I think that we all have expertise and we share it, and it's bound to happen that will begin to ripple, and I actually think that's good.
Sure.
I mean, we've been asked for letters, right?
Yeah.
And we've sent them. And I suppose if there was another group that came to us, another group on one particular
Well, that happened.
application,
There's the Hui group and the MBL group. We sent 2 letters.
but that's for different things.
I think they're both applying for the same money.
Oh, I
No,
don't
one
know.
was NSF and the other was EPA.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
oh,
was
oh,
two
oh,
different
Yeah, from my
fundings.
recollection, they're
Yeah.
quite different. So, but if someone came up and said, "Do we support the concept of what this, this grant request is for?" and we say, "Sure, we support the concept," but that's I don't see why we wouldn't send it to 10 if we wanted, if we were so inclined.
Okay. Steve?
I serve, as you know, on another town board. I'm not sure what the distinction would be between being on 2 town boards and being on a town board here and then on the board of a nonprofit or a not for whatever entity. I think the underlying perhaps rule or policy might be more along the lines of not getting involved in what in the public sector is referred to as interlocking directorships. In other words, I'm pointing to Wynn just because he was mentioned. If Wynn wants to go serve on another board because he's got an interest in it, that's fine. If Wynn's serving on that board representing the Water Quality Management Committee on that board, okay, and speaking for the Water Quality Management Committee, then he's interrelating their board and our board. And that under, you're not allowed to do that with publicly traded companies. It's kind of a good rule. So I think as long as we all keep in mind that if we're serving on another board, like when I'm on the Board of Health, I don't say the Water Quality Management Committee wants. Sometimes I say that's something we talked about the Water Quality Management Committee, and Sia's going to come in, or Dave Kerrigan, you should get a hold of Sia and work that out. Okay, I don't bring our position to them necessarily. So I think we all have to just be very careful of it. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair enough.
I think it's pretty evident if there's a conflict. Okay, I think and especially always ask. That's my thing. Always ask. Just ask and just say what it is, say what you've got, and see what you get back.
There's also something to be said for using the infrastructure, the state laws, and Frank Duffy, that's already been established through who knows how many man-hours of meetings, rather than trying to reinvent that ourselves.
Oh, yeah. No,
let alone having something that has some weird differences from it.
Okay. So there's no appetite for a policy. There's just common sense and disclosure.
Disclosure.
Good.
Fair enough.
If in doubt, disclose.
Right, there you go. Okay, discussion concerning possible May water bill insert. This is
I'll
Steve's baby.
try to be brief. I wanted a way to be able to contact frequently and as necessary and cheaply and easily the people in the Oyster Pond watershed. And I would like to be able to do that this summer based on the proposed schedule in that RFP and CWMP. And I thought that there were other projects that might also want that capability. In fact, some were mentioned tonight. Little Pond, the shellfish, and the PRBs, I think, was mentioned.
That sounds like music.
The Martians are tuning in.
It's the cameras.
Oh,
They're moving to focus on you.
could be a mistake.
Just someone's not working.
Big brother is watching.
And I talked to Sia and various people, and the software, it turns out, is very simple and free, and it's called Yahoo Groups. And I can explain that to people later, but it's very robust. It's run by Yahoo, and you just set up a group. You can keep it private. You can have one-way or two-way communication. You can have polls. You can get fancy. But for our purposes, it collects emails that people voluntarily give it when they join. and then you can send broadcast notices to them. The issue is, how do you tell people initially that this mechanism exists so that they might choose to join it? And I was thinking of the water bill flyer. It's $1,200. We've already done it. Sia did a fantastic job. She even had a proposed, much more concise version of what I emailed around for this flyer. Someone, I think Eric brought up the problem that it would be a public record of all the email addresses. And so in principle, someone could request that and then send spam to those people, and defeating the whole purpose, essentially wrecking it. And I wasn't allowed to call Frank Duffy, but no one said I couldn't call the Secretary of State Attorney for Public Records. And he said there's a list of exemptions, and that it's borderline. And the one that would be closest, if it's related to specifically named individuals, you can get an exemption. I also spoke to Tom Pucci, Falmouth IT manager, who now it turns out wouldn't even need to be involved. He was supportive of it. And Michael Palmer, who thought it would be a very difficult administrative problem, but he doesn't know about Yahoo groups, because he tried to do it with the town meeting members, and he found out that when he tried to do it a year later, half of them had changed their email addresses. But the Yahoo thing finesses that, because each person, if they want to continue getting notices, tells Yahoo their new email address. And we don't even have to know what's happening. There is also the potential objection that the water department, now that we showed them how to do this, is going to take up all the space in the envelope with their own mailing. But I submit that I didn't get around to actually weighing a pile of paper and figuring out what a flyer weighs. But there are 2 or 3 postage rates in the small weight range. The odds that our little flyer would be the straw that breaks the camel's back, that pushes them into the next rate class, I submit is pretty small. But we wouldn't. And I would be willing to. I mean, there's probably money in the Oyster Pond budget to do it, but I'm interested in other people's opinions. Or is there a cheaper way to do it?
Well, there's sort of a threshold question of when would something like this have to be prepared to get into a mailing? And did you find any answer on that? I know you asked.
By mid-March, and I believe that we could pull that together by mid-March. So okay. I think that at this point, the water department is trying to decide whether they will include their annual report. It's 4 pages, it's 2 sides, and in the past it's been on fairly heavy paper, and they mailed it separately. And so they've suddenly realized maybe if we do it on lighter paper, we could put it in with the water bills, and so they granted. Yes, yes. I mean, it's saving all of us, some money. It's a town. But they're also exploring the possibility that they may be able to just post it online, and then only, and this is a legal question, that the water department is required to prepare an annual report and notify its users. That's a state law. So it's in the balance at this point as to whether they will use the space or not. My hunch is that they will come up to just about the 1 ounce, which is where the rate changes. So if they decide to include their annual report, I think it's likely we will not be able to get an insert in. This is my hunch. This time around.
Any idea?
But
But that's an empirical thing. It's not a reason to not try.
Exactly.
We're not risking.
That's the rest of my sentence. There's no reason for us not to be prepared to use it. if we want. And so my only other thought on that is, what you're looking for at this point is email addresses from Oyster Pond, which is a small subsection, Oyster Pond watershed, small subsection of the entire 20,000 that are going to be mailed out to everybody in the town. So if this insert's going in, is there any other use that is of benefit to the town as a whole?
I can certainly imagine that the eco-toilets could use a second mention of eco-toilets in some way, collecting email addresses of people who wanted to be informed of things as they go on in the next few months on eco-toilets. And there are some things that are going forward, and people might want to be aware of those. So I could see the possibility that
I have no problem with that, but also keep in mind that even if nothing is put on the backside, if up front it's not used for anything else, it is intrinsically of use to all the other projects, because you're getting everyone's email address.
Yes.
We're not saying only send us your email address if you live in the Oyster Pond watershed,
Fair enough.
because part of the issue is that people don't know
Yes.
which watershed they're in.
That's right.
Of course they don't.
Yes.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just in terms of the mailing, and I know this would take away from a lot of back of the envelope calculations, but it might be that it could be printed on the back of the envelope, whatever you're trying to get out there, you know.
As opposed to an insert. Right? Put it on the envelope?
Put it on the envelope, use the space we got.
That would be an administrative hassle with the water department.
Yes, it would certainly
I
would.
think they already have their envelope.
Right. Do we still have our telephone? Remember, it was required. We have it, okay, and you still check it every so often?
I
for-
sure do.
Okay.
Now, the report from the last mailing of 20,000 pieces produced 40 responses?
40. But we only asked for people who were interested in eco toilets.
Right.
And the other side was the fertilizer,
Right,
which
right.
we were just, it was
Okay.
an FYI.
Okay, so it was the fertilizer people.
Could I say just a couple things? 40 actual responses means that a lot of people looked at it.
I agree.
That's right.
And when advertising things, that's what you want. And you want to have it happen more than once. You want it to become somehow a regular thing that people see this going on, they know it's there, and it gets into their heads. So I don't think that, I don't know how much, I don't know how to estimate, $1,200. How much is it really worth to do it? We got 40 responses. We got actually, how many people from those 40 responses actually are in the program now?
But those that was solid leads at $30 a lead for something that you were selling for $5,000. That's very efficient marketing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are we going to know in 2 weeks what the water department's plans are, do you think?
I think that'd be fair, yeah. It's with the water department superintendent at this point, is what my information was. And there has to be a double check with Ray. So let's just put it on 2 weeks from now and visit it. And in the meantime, if you want to work on a draft, just so we're ready.
I've already reserved Falmouth WQMC on Yahoo Groups. I own that now, but I will give it free to the water quality. But if you have a better name, let me know and I'll change it over.
So just a question on the Yahoo, you like Yahoo Groups better than SurveyMonkey because of this issue of,
Because it I haven't looked into SurveyMonkey.
okay.
I heard of it first, but it may be better, but I know Yahoo Groups is robust and free and will do everything we need.
Okay.
SurveyMonkey, when I received it from Webinar, I know that I only received it because Webinar already had my email address. There's no way that I could go to www.surveymonkey.com and say, please put me on the Webinar email list. It's a tool that they use with their pre-existing email base, whereas Yahoo Groups takes care of all of that.
Right, we can, okay, so maybe when we're putting together the actual language for a mock-up, we can, because what we're gonna have to say in this is go to blah, blah, blah. So we'll have an offline conversation where we sort this out.
All right, 2 weeks, it'll
2
be
weeks.
back. We'll know what the water department's up to and take it from there.
Okay.
Can I just circulate this around so people can see it?
Sure.
Our hectoring.
Yeah.
We want to Aphrodite instead, we don't want nectar.
Yeah,
Oh.
content is a whole separate discussion, but sure, pass it around. Scheduling of site visit to local on-site denitrification systems. See ya.
Making progress.
I'll send it this way.
Just the short of it is that the actual site where the Nitrex is located in Mashpee that we were talking about doesn't really have anything to see, apparently. It's a couple manhole
Couple
covers.
pipes sticking out of the ground.
A couple pipes sticking out of the ground. And they don't really have somebody who's a third-party operator. That's not how that's not their business
Yeah,
model.
Nitrex has its own O&M.
They do all their own O&M, so what we were trying to do is get to impartial third-party operators to kind of get the inside story of how, once you put in this perfect denitrifying septic system, what it takes in real life to keep it going. We're not going to have that necessarily, because Nitrex is all, the company that sells it, designs it, installs it, also maintains it. But we've been getting some information, and we're gonna, I guess, have a little conversation about the best way to get the best information about Nitrex, because I think it's an important system for the committee to really, the committees recognize it's an important system to really understand at a pretty deep level. And the other piece of that was getting a visit to the test center at two places. One is Rhode Island, which I'm still working on getting that scheduled, and George Hoyfelder at the test center at Otis, and he said he's pretty much available whenever we want to do it. So I was going to try to sort out, I mean, it took a few phone calls. The Nitrex wasn't, it's been a little bit of a process, so let me just try to get to the bottom of Nitrex, figure out the best way to get the committee a good, deep understanding of that system, and try to combine it with George, if George might be the one who gives us a presentation about Nitrex, and try to schedule that. And what would be helpful is to know some dates after the 22nd. We talked about Friday the 22nd, which is barreling down the road. It is vacation week, so are there other days that I can be shooting for?
Are we gonna stick with Friday?
Yeah, Matt likes Fridays.
Yeah,
Is that?
but, you know, if other people want to do something else, I've seen a lot of this stuff already, so.
Yeah.
So we're not doing anything on the 22nd?
No, doesn't sound like it.
Not yet. Unless we want to take the time to go see George on the 22nd. It's still an open date. I'm just suggesting we may want to have other dates as well.
Has anyone not been to see George's place?
I actually haven't seen it.
Okay, it's worth seeing.
Only from a bus.
Okay, so everybody else has seen it? Oh, well then,
Oh,
I've seen it.
you've seen it too.
Okay.
All right, then.
That was a good
Okay.
question.
Well,
okay,
then-
well then.
So
all right.
certainly let's not do it.
But George is always worth listening to, especially when he's talking about, when he's focused on specific things that we might want to know.
Yeah, well, that seemed like half of the point of going there, is to focus on that subject with him and kind of.
I mean, he gave me, I've been there twice, he's given me very general tours of the whole thing and showed me everything. But if we were focused on the specific things that we wanted him to talk about, we could probably get a good deal out of that.
Yeah.
I went for a general tour once to get a very specific explanation
Right.
about a few of the things that were there.
So you'd be willing to go again?
I'd always, it's always interesting. I'm sure that I
Okay.
didn't, you know,
Yeah, I think it's
register everything.
sounds like
about
it's
it.
worthwhile.
He's doing new
I think
things
it
all
would
the
be
time.
really worthwhile.
Okay.
And especially because we have a particular focus, which is some of the, which systems are really able to get below.
That's right.
Maybe 5, let's call it 5 to 7, 5 to 10 milligrams per liter. So I think we're really trying to go beyond standard IA system performance, which tends to be 19. So
Yeah, yeah, we're seeing that what we're looking for isn't there.
Yeah.
Nitrex is the only one that claims to be there, and it's a bit of a black box to many people.
Well, maybe with Nitrex, we should
But
at least...
It's wood chips and calcium.
Yeah,
But somehow, when one company is installing them, maintaining them, operating them, and measuring the results,
yeah.
and producing results of 95 or 98% efficiency, when every other system in the world gets 82 or 81.
Oh, no, I thought he
No,
has
it's a
them
different
at
thing.
the
It's
site.
different. It's different from the.
He has them at the
At George's
at
site?
George's site.
Does he still have one there?
But Nitrex.
Yeah.
But none of them in operation, in the ground where people are using them, get the results he gets.
No, but the county monitors them as well. The county has data on them.
Yeah.
It shows really good performance.
Yeah, they're
On the
doing
Mass
work.
The county's
The county
database.
doesn't do the test, though. The data that the county gets is reported by Nitrix.
Oh, okay.
It's not third-party
Third party.
testing.
Then the
It's
thing
not
to,
required to be.
then the
No.
thing to do with nitrix is treat it. You can treat it as a black box. You just look at the documents.
That's
In other
right.
words, what does he charge? What does he charge if you buy a lot of them? And what does he guarantee? And what does he do if he doesn't meet the guarantee? The
Right,
liquidated damages and all that
Exactly,
sort of stuff.
they guarantee the performance, the company guaranteed it. So George Hoyfelder has offered to actually do a presentation because he feels like he has a good understanding of the nitric system. Instead of doing something on site where you're looking at the
Now,
pavement, he would have slides and he's done quite a bit. I mean, I've been reading up on a number of this analysis, so the idea might be to pick a time where George could do this presentation. I don't know if the test center has an indoor place.
Come and do it at a regular meeting.
I was going to say he could do it at a regular
It's a
meeting.
lot nicer here.
Sure, I was thinking
All right.
in conjunction with going to the test center and-
Right.
and seeing what's there to be
He
efficient.
must have an office or something.
I'm sorry,
He talks
Tilda?
about, yeah.
Okay,
What's interesting too in the talk, one of the things I recall, and this could be part of the presentation here as well as standing out in the cold, but is that he's got aerobic systems and anaerobic systems that are like under lawns, okay, two different things. And he can actually combine them. And one type breaks down certain pharmaceuticals and the other one breaks down other chemicals. So it's interesting to do that, but you don't have to be there to look at a lawn to see what it is.
Fair enough.
It's easier actually to concentrate on
All
it.
right. Well, maybe we'll do it here then.
I want to touch on one thing because there was a little short conversation here about the fact that one company owns it and one company puts it in, one company tests it. And, then there was this sort of allegation almost like that there's not an independent third party so that whatever. I do believe that all the testing that's done, even though it's done by the firm that's doing it, is all, as everything I've ever seen, is all the up and up. They're following standard test methodology and testing. It's just, nobody's ever turned around and said, it's more expensive if you tell a homeowner or somebody, you must have a independent third party. People are always looking for a convenient person to do it. So I don't think there's anything
Okay.
untoward about his sample methodology. I think it's perfectly normal and acceptable.
No.
Wouldn't it also be the case that he sends the samples to an independent?
I don't know who does. I don't know who does. He could have
Analysis.
He could have his own lab and have to follow standard methods, something or other, to get his results. It depends on who's reporting it to and why he's reporting it, Matt. I'm just saying he's got no reason to not get good sample results and report them properly.
Because anybody can pull a test if they want.
They have to follow the standard methodology way of doing it, record it, and say how they did
Well, I
it.
mean, somebody could check on him.
Yeah. You do duplicate samples. If you have if you ever have a feeling that things are wrong, you take two samples and send one to one lab and one to another, and you get two different answers. You do it 20 times, you get two different answers. Then you get into the statistical world and you figure out whether or not they're too far apart to be.
no, I wasn't insinuating that. The only thing I was.
We're on TV.
Yeah.
That got bounced around a little bit about it's not independent. It's like, I just want to point out.
No,
Thanks.
fair enough.
Good point.
Okay, so the consensus is let's get George here to talk about the on-sites and the results and the testing and all these issues in the comfort of our usual meeting room instead of out there. Fair enough?
Good.
Okay, discussion on the budget allocation of the Article 17, April 2011 town meeting appropriation. Virginia has sent a handout around.
Does anyone not have one? And I think Carol, you probably don't. Okay, so pass that down to her. I do.
Couple there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Actually, I think Carol's gonna.
There's a couple there. There's a few there.
Taking the extra.
Does anyone else need one?
Hilda.
Do we
Everybody have one?
want to pass
Still have
around
one
the cookies and things too?
Do we want more cookies?
He's got one.
Let's do
I wasn't here early. Where did these come from?
See his daughter.
See his daughter.
Yeah.
I mean,
Nice.
I supervised Jared Preston.
Yeah, they had a quality control.
This is at night, I just.
We do an independent cross check on this.
Okay.
Well, thanks to your daughter. This is really great.
Great.
Yeah.
Sir. 52.
Hold your daughter.
It's my dinner.
How old is she?
She's 11.
Wow,
Great age.
it is indeed.
All right, there's quite a bit of information on this page, and I'm just going to sort of go through it slowly and carefully, and hope that everybody will understand where we stand in our finances on Article 17 that was voted back in April 2011. You'll recognize the left-hand column as being all the categories that were in the motion for Article 17, with the exception of the very last entry, which I put into italics, and it says tech assistant plus miscellaneous, because we have been spending some funding that is clearly related to all of the work that we are doing, but did not appear as words as such or as a funding line item as such in the motion that was voted at town meeting. And so that's why in the next column, when you look at the allocation, these are again all those numbers directly quoted out of the motion, and with a 0 down where the tech assistant and miscellaneous is. The next column, sorry, go ahead.
The 25,000 for the tech assistant, is that for work already done or to be done?
That's work already done,
Right, the contract that expired January 31st.
Right.
And was that the total contract, or was that the amount that wasn't obviously allocable to, say, eco toilets?
The contract was actually 23,000, and then there was 2,000 held in reserve for expenses, of which the flyer, which was $1,200.
So it's about it's all the work. So some of it could obviously be allocated. I mean,
Well, it's been spent.
It's been spent.
Right, but it could reasonably be associated with one of the
It was allocated
projects up
already.
above.
That is correct. That is correct.
One or more.
One or more, it could be associated with one or more. As I work through these columns, I have actually at this point taken that entire 25,000 and taken it out of compost municipal. So you'll see there's 150,000 allocated, but I'm saying that there's 125,000 presently uncommitted, and that's my note 3. That's an arbitrary decision on my part, just for presenting numbers at this point. But it is the same issue that's going to come up with the 60,000, which we definitely need to discuss tonight, whether we come to a vote or not. It's because we have a function that is clearly needed in order to do our job, but that did not have a specific line item in Article 17. Yes.
I understand that the 60,000 under compost eco toilets voted or pending. That 60,000, the second item under there, which voted or pending, is the other 60,000.
That's correct.
So we're talking about the 60,000 is not going to be allocated out of eco toilets.
That's correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Good work.
Okay. All right. Moving down the contracted line, the engineering for the Little Pond Lower Watershed contract with GHD was $253,000, and the Bournes Inlet engineering was also part of the same contract, $197,000, for a total of $450,000, and that is the dollar amount that was voted by the selectmen. The stray little $9,536 was the work, you may remember a year ago, June. We had a letter report from GHD. It was the first conceptual sewer shed area for Lower Little Pond. It had 3 maps, showed where the pump stations might be, and so on. That was not part of any contract that they were operating under at that time, and so there was that extra charge. And Jerry decided that it should come out of Article 17, so that's where it is. It's the way the town has handled that particular funding. So that is another piece, but that's clearly sewer, so I did not put it down in italics at the bottom. I put it right into the engineering. If you take the 253,000, the 9,000, and the 197,000, you have then over in the uncommitted column 237,000 and 153,000, which comes to a total of about 390,000, and we'll come back to that 390,000 number at the end here. The shellfish cultivation, you're looking at 68,960. That's the contract with the Woods Hole Group. That's what they're working on now. The 132,000, as you can see, the balance is actually 131, but anyway, 132,000 is what we gave the selectmen, and so that's the number that they're working with. I have not put that number in, because I did this on Monday, but I would put that number in now, and so basically this particular item is slightly in the negative. The permeable reactive barriers, the contract is $175,000 to CDM Smith, and that leaves a balance of $75,000. The compost for a municipal facility, we originally thought it would be a beach. That idea has not gone anywhere, and there seems to be a general either lack of opportunity or lack of interest. And so that is at this point, I think the item least likely to be expended. And so that's where I took the original $25,000 for the technical assistant, took it out of there.
I wouldn't like to say that within the next year that's the least likely one to be expended. It's something we have not yet gotten around to, but we have talked about. Conceptually, we've talked to a number of people. It is still on the agenda to be pushed, but it has not been on.
Just to look, may I add?
Yes.
I have actually done a bit of work in looking for the municipal locations, and there were 3 that were originally proposed. One was Old Silver Beach, the second one was Minot, and the third was the West Falmouth fire station.
Exactly.
Oh, yes.
And I did pursue all of those fairly extensively to the tune, talking to the engineers. I've had a conversation with the assistant town manager. There were reasons that I've documented, which I can probably rattle off, why none of those locations are right. They're not appropriate locations. So it may be that new municipal locations come up, but the 3 that we have fully pursued, I think, those 3 initial ones, and they weren't going to work. Old Silver Beach was an easy one. The minute you start working on plumbing in that existing facility, you open up ADA compliance, and that is a cost.
Wow.
That was a non-starter, an easy non-starter. There was an easy non-starter at Minot, I don't remember what it was, and the West Falmouth Station, having looked at it, actually looked at it with a couple of the conflicting vendors, there wasn't actually enough going on there to warrant it.
All right, we get it.
So,
So, road runoff.
So, so it sits there until it gets allocated some other way.
Chair, it was a nice discussion, but let's just go through the money,
Yeah.
not the underlying what's been done or
Yeah,
done
right,
under each
okay.
one of these
Right.
tasks.
That's
Okay?
right. Yeah,
This
the
is an
merits are not-
exercise to see what's expended and what's not been spent, and maybe
Right.
saying we're not likely to spend money or whatever. We just hold all of that until we
Just-
get through these numbers.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, compost eco toilets. These 3 numbers, 50,000, 80,000, 60,000, have all been voted by the selectmen. So they're all in the, towards the committed column. The 50,000 is the money for George Hoyfelter for the testing. That would be done on the sites that have eco toilets. The 80,000 is the money in reserve for 5,000 for each participating household.
For the first 15, yeah.
Yep.
And the 60,000 is for the outreach and study of eco toilets. It's the, it's the technical assistance.
Right, half of the new technical assistance.
Half of the new technical assistance. That's the best way to put it. And then the other half is that $60,000 at the bottom.
So that's different than the 60,000 down under in the same
Yes.
column?
That's
under
the other
technical
half.
That's the other half. The intent is that the technical assistant will work 20 hours a week. 10 hours a week is on eco toilets related, and the other 10 hours is spread through all the other projects.
And that's until we've cleaned up every estuary, right?
We want to clean them all.
Or the money runs out, whichever comes first.
Right.
There we go.
Road runoff, we've discussed a number of times. Mike Domenica helped us draft an early RFP, but there's been so much on the plate, we have not moved forward on that. So at this point, nothing is contracted, nothing is pending, and it's fully uncommitted at this point. Oyster Pond CWMP is under review. I don't know what the dollar award will be until next Monday. I was originally told that there might be a need to reserve 200,000. That number might be different. So we'll wait until Monday, and then I'll be able to put true numbers into that particular line item. The baseline data, we started at 250. We have this contract, which still hasn't been signed, with SMAST for 82,000. But it has been voted by the selectmen, so that's why it's a number that's been authorized, and so that's why it's in the contracted column.
But to be fair, we thought it had been signed.
Well, yes.
And that's why it's contracted, but
Right.
it hadn't. So.
All right, MEP SMAST, these were the remaining estuaries and studies that needed to be done. Salt Pond, what else? I've forgotten the others.
Falmouth Harbor? No,
Falmouth Inner Harbor.
That's all the stuff we just saw.
Right, okay. So that was a fixed number that he's done. That's right, Quistit was in there, Rand's Canal. So that number has been contracted, he's done the work, and that amount will soon be leaving our coffers. So now we get back again to this, what's in italics, the technical assistant. And this is the 60,000 that somehow needs to be spread out through the other contracts, with the exception of the composting eco toilet, which already has its piece. And that's a decision of the committee.
And I think we do want to have a discussion about that tonight. We can't have a vote on it because we didn't talk about a vote, but we can do that in a couple of weeks. But I think let's have the conversation about where it should come from sometime tonight, so we can inform ourselves for the next meeting.
Let me start by saying, is there a reason not to allocate the costs proportional to the way the time is spent? I mean, if it's spent on shellfish cultivation, some percent, and eco toilets, some percent, and road runoff, some percent, and oyster pond, some percent, those projects get charged the appropriate amount. Why would you want to hide it some other way?
I don't think it's a case of hiding it, if I may.
Please.
I don't think it's a case of hiding it. This is, if you look at us starting in essence a $2.7 million program, along the way we decided that we needed assistance with it, okay? I'd like to think that we as a committee are going to try to keep away from what I would call hour-by-hour bookkeeping for this. It's probably more uniform if we just make a decision here to say 10,000 here, 20,000 there, 10,000 here, 20,000 there, whatever, and just do the division right now.
Roughly.
Do the division right.
But I wouldn't want 80% of the work going to project A and 80% of the cost going to project B. That's all I'm saying.
No, that's fair. And I think we can talk about that, where the effort's going to be expended.
I'm open to this. At this point, it's really bookkeeping. But in order to ultimately make all the numbers balance, 60,000 has to come out of the uncommitted column at some place.
It's pretty clear it's not coming from eco toilets.
Right.
Yes. I'll take a first stab at this, and I'll just say, if I've got the sense of where we're spending the bulk of our time currently and will be going forward, it's engineering, shellfish, and permeable reactive barriers is going to be my guess, just thinking of what's out there and what's got to be done.
Baseline data has taken
And
up a lot of
baseline
energy
data.
lately.
Take up a lot of energy, but I think it might be behind us.
Well, we hope so.
We hope so. So maybe baseline data. So maybe 10 under baseline data, 10 under permeable reactive barrier, 20 under shellfish cultivate. Well, we don't have anything under shellfish
We don't have any
cultivation.
money. Yeah.
That's right, we just moved that money all
No.
over.
Yes, it can't be.
But that, I think.
Don't do anything with shellfish.
Okay, can't be
We
shellfish.
have, no, well, I mean, chicken you could buy,
Can't-
keep her in the loop.
Can't be composting.
Anyway, Jeff's not getting. Before we come back, I just had a bookkeeping thing.
Sure.
It's not clear to me. In the one thing in Article 17 that was limited in the actual article was the engineering to 500,000. And that isn't, to me, it's getting a little mixed here, a little bit. What I'm saying is that the 9,536, okay, that was for the engineering in the summer, and then 253,000 is the current work on the sewer work. So this is totally,
Totally in engineering.
okay. And, okay, so that's where it stands now, and there's no, okay, and then the other engineering is the inlet, which is, okay, its own line item.
Right.
So that we're not, because you're pulling, you kind of pull them together down below here in terms of the contract, so it's just that we need to, I think it needs to be clear that note 5, you know, because you say $850,000 for engineer, you know, okay, for Bourne's Pond, so there's the two things there, okay. As long as it's,
I hear what you're saying, and
I mean, you've done it, but it's just, want to make sure we're not somebody, you know, does that, so, okay.
well, we have not spent more than 500,000 on engineering, and I
Right.
don't believe we will.
Okay.
Isn't there another source of funding for engineering? I remember hearing Jerry talk about that.
He made a brief reference to, and so I tried to follow up on that. There is a very small amount of engineering money, quote, I just say engineering, from a prior contract with GHC, but it actually turns out to be in a line item for modeling, for groundwater modeling. So that was the only other, quote, engineering money that I was able to locate.
And is there any funding left from the, what do we call that, the Ashumet Valley study?
There- Not, well, there is some money left, but this is only dealing with money that's been approved by the selectmen. So,
Right. If they're going to approve this 60, it's not going to come from any source except us. I think that'll be their position. It's not going to come from any outside fund besides what's on this sheet.
Let me ask you a question. I'm confused. I think I'm confused. We put a certain amount of money, which we said we were going to pay out of the 2.7 million, into the budget that is going toward these, into that budget, which was that, I guess $300,000 was taken out of the 9 million because it doesn't have to be added to the 9 million.
Right.
Because it's going to come, where's that coming from? Where's that?
there was an original bonding window of, it was actually 5 million. It was about 4.5 that the town actually ended up, okay?
Yeah.
So that was 2011. The next window is 9 million.
Right.
Okay, and so there is some funding, engineering for sewers and engineering for Bourne's Pond in that second window.
Yes.
And just so everybody's clear, the third window is coming next year in 2014. So there's three windows.
That I understand.
Okay.
But there was a $300,000 or something like that that was going to come out of here.
And that's the rest of the money from
Right.
Bourne's Inlet and the engineering if we need it.
Right, there was 400, and 390 rounds off to 400. and
Right.
that-
I see. Oh, so
The
it-
premise
yeah.
was that 400 would come out of here, and the remaining 300 would have to be voted by the voters and the town meeting to make that happen.
Right. So that's basically been allocated.
Well, only if the finance committee, the selectmen, the town meeting, and the voters want
Decide that they do that.
to do it. Otherwise, it stays right here.
Right.
Right, and to be fair, I mean, it's, I think this is sort of your point a little bit earlier on numbers. It's a budget number. There's not a contract from anybody for a specific piece of work.
Right.
We got a conceptual level review of the ways to open up Bourne's Pond Inlet. And then somebody said, you know, if you were going to go for your next round of financing, these are placeholders to carry. We didn't get, I didn't see anything that was detailed about, so many hours for this permit, so many hours for that, so many hours for this.
No.
These were percentage type numbers and
Yeah.
not negotiated out numbers.
Okay.
So like a lot of things, we're close. We're not in any exactitude.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm also just wondering on this table that was prepared, which will be changed, I guess. On
What
the
is this
9
table?
million.
What is the table for the home viewers?
This is a table that was prepared by the DPW on the distribution of,
Right.
the concept
Right.
of distribution of funding of the 9 million. And whether that, the 60,000 might be somehow factored into this. One question I had about this table was that I didn't know how these numbers were derived. Like, with a lot of the projects, the eco toilet and the shellfish, we've got detailed line items. But I haven't seen anything like in the 4.5 million. How is that worked out? How did you come to 4.5 million for engineering of the Little Pond area? Was that
That was what we got in our
That was the report.
presentation.
GHD said
that was
we
that
can
was
do
the-
this job for that amount of money.
right? But they didn't list. Was there a detailed breakdown of what they were going to do it with? I don't remember that.
I think it was more of a percentage. They had broken out to some categories for permitting and whatnot.
No, but they made a spreadsheet. Now it's,
Yeah, there was a
yes,
spreadsheet.
now it's possible Jerry has the spreadsheet, but
Okay, there is
that,
one.
that,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah, we
they
got-
figured
we
out
got-
the
right, there-
hours
there-
and
there is-
tasks and.
There is
We
one.
got that at the meeting.
Flyovers,
we got that all in the meeting.
The cost of flyover.
Yeah.
Right, they had several subcategories.
Survey, borings.
Yeah.
And with the inlet widening?
Same
kind
thing.
of detail.
Yeah.
Everything, okay.
Yeah.
And the other
This
things,
was in January, so you may have not.
Right.
yeah, I wasn't here, if I didn't see
Yeah.
those documents, so I just was curious about but if they exist, that's great.
Yeah.
And then there's this, okay, well, all right, so it's the same, the 800,000 for the Little Pond sewer area flow and load. That's another thing that's been detailed somehow. So the upgrade of the plant and the,
Yeah, there was some
Yeah.
backing and forthing on all this. They originally came in with $1 million worth of design for the upgrading of the plant that included 450 for a flow meter, which
But that
then
didn't
they-
fall under our committee.
It didn't, but that's part of the sheet that he's looking at.
Yeah.
But that, they came back and forth and decided, well, they could do with a little less of this,
okay.
a little more of that. So it's been a moving target all along here. But
Right.
that's the one that, as of the 17th of January,
Yeah.
that we looked at and agreed to and sent off to the selectmen for their consideration.
There was, as I understood, there was a little bit of, like you say, people came in and said, this is what we have as projects. Folks looked at it, and one of the pushbacks was the collective from the entities, whether it was the water, the wastewater, plants, and whatever, was more money than the town manager and the Board of Selectmen felt was either available or that they wanted to go forward with, whatever that was. And so they pushed back against everybody
Yeah.
and said, your numbers are too big, your numbers have to get into here. And as a result of that, you had a conversation with us one night at this board, Virginia, that said, this happened, and so coming back and looking at these numbers, just looking at a couple of numbers, the sense was that we as a committee had money in here that we could
Right.
reallocate, if you will, towards the Bournes Pond engineering. And that led to a meeting or so ago saying, sounds like a good idea. Let's try to understand how that fits into everything, which is why we're sitting here tonight. And we're really trying to work our way through a couple of things, I think. One is, do we as a committee agree that the first two lines under the uncommitted, that a major portion of that should go towards Bournes Pond inlet widening in the future, right?
Right.
And secondly, of the 60,000 that we've voted or pending on, that needs to be redistributed, the best way to redistribute it in these numbers. So there's two items to work our way through and understand as a committee
Right.
and reach consensus on.
Right. The fact that we have already as a committee, and again, Ron, I think you weren't at the meeting, we voted for the current article with the selectmen that we would only ask for 300,000 from Bournes Pond, and anything additional needed from Bournes Pond would have to come from Article 17.
Right.
So we've sort of
Good.
made that commitment
Right.
in the larger plan as we work with these
Right.
funding windows.
But in
But it's
All-
important for everybody to understand where that funding came from, what it's being.
All of which
directed
can change along the way here. They could decide there really isn't $9 million in the window.
For sure.
They could decide
They don't like Orange
they don't want to do a filtration plant. They'd rather do a chemical plant, so the design cost would be less. Every one of these things is subject to further decisions by other people. So
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
so it's
So
always
just getting the 9 million.
we put
out
this on the
there.
table,
Out
and
there
that's
as
as,
best we could.
Yeah.
that's as
And
best.
and it's
Right,
also,
right,
there were time crunches.
Our public would like to join here.
I might not understand this all, but in principle, could some of that 300,000 be $250,000 for Bourne's Pond and $50,000 for the shellfish? Could that in principle have happened?
Could have.
Because if we're short on Bourne's Pond and we're also short on doing the shellfish project as well as we would like to, would there have been a reason to consider both?
Well, anything's possible, and I think we considered a good bit on this to get to this point.
Okay.
And it can all be revisited until it's actually contracted. Anything can be revisited. So it's until it's contracted, it's on the table.
I just was afraid that if
Right.
it was okayed by town meeting for this particular purpose, that you don't have the flexibility to say, okay, take 50,000 and give it to the shellfish.
No, it
The
was
only,
very,
the only restriction in the article voted
Right.
was that we can't spend more than $500,000 on sewer engineering.
Right, and on this new article, there'll be 9 million that will be, and this is the idea of how it'll be used, right? This is not fixed.
Right, with
Exactly.
the caveat that I mentioned, that at this point on the warrant, the water filtration expenses have been put into a separate article from the others. It's still the $9 million window, and the thinking and strategy is the $9 million window. And ultimately, I think the ballot vote will be the $9 million window.
But again,
But at the
everything can
moment,
change.
I just so we're totally transparent, that there are really two articles in play that fill
Right.
that 9 million.
So it could be whatever, it could be partially in one and partially in the other, but it would still be 9. Or would it be?
right. If 9 is the number that the town had.
If
Right,
nine is
no,
the
whatever the number is.
Right.
Finance committee and the
Whatever the
selectmen have to agree on some
maximum is,
number.
Whatever the amount they're allowing
Right.
will be divided up somehow between the two.
If they choose to use the whole amount.
Yeah, right.
The whole process involves everybody else
Right.
stepping in here.
Mr. Chairman, we're not going to vote on this tonight,
Right.
No.
you said. So in the interest of time, I ask that we move on. And
Okay. The only thing I would like to do tonight, and this should be the easiest part of this conversation, is to take that 60,000 and get the committee's guidance on which pockets it should come out of. We know it's not coming out of the shellfish cultivation. We know it's not coming out of composting aqua toilets. We know it's not coming out of MEP/SMAST. What's your preference for where it should come out of?
Well, where's the work going to be done?
Okay.
Well, the work's going to be done
What are we
under
gonna
things
ask
like,
CA to do?
being done under shellfish cultivation, but there's no money there.
I think Oyster Pond is the
Yeah, that's a good.
category. Since you're asking.
Steve,
Well,
Steve,
no, we'll
coming
know a
back,
lot more about that after Monday.
Yes, we will.
coming back to your point about trying to divvy up where the work's being done, we've passed the point on a couple of these items in the sense that we've already allocated money for SMAST to the budget. We've just gone through allocating the budget that we've got for shellfish cultivation. So areas that work is being done and will have to be done in, we didn't keep a reserve to pay for technical assistance.
But I don't want it to anything. I want it to be as transparent as possible. In other words, it will be a gift from one area to some other area, or multiple areas to multiple other areas. And let's be upfront about that rather than hiding it as an
I don't think
allocation.
it's taking away per se. I think it's allocating to. It's a different thing, basically. It's saying like, okay, we've got these categories, and how we do it, it is taking away in a way. But what I mean is that we're creating this category here, and that it's moving money from one to the other.
Every
So-
buyer, there's a seller.
Right, but it's a different, it's a normal thing, because we had, nothing was precise. All of these numbers in the left column were indicative at the time. It was like, here's what the best idea what the best thought was. And we know that with any program like this, there's always reallocations. Things come up, things are reduced, or whatever. It is a process. And with the oyster pond, CWMP, we'll find out really what the number is on Monday, for example. If this 200 is approximate, then that will deliver the product, whatever the number is. So
based on just based on historic. I mean, I track pretty much by project as I'm spending my time. I'm going crazy. I'm pretty accurate about, and my experience is about half my time is spent with eco toilets, getting the program up and running, doing all the stuff that I did. About half of that historic time that I spent was on eco toilets. The other work, if you think about a 20-hour allocation of time, there's PRBs, oyster pond, shellfish, baseline monitoring, and engineering, which is really this dollars per pound and other oversight that I do believe is significant to getting the work of the consultants to a good point. I mean, I think, and you have 5 other things. If you think about 2 hours a week on each of them, that's 10 hours. And so I would say historically, it's probably equally spent, not every week equally, but over an average of
That's great.
6
That's exactly
months.
that's very useful. So then one possibility is you allocate it, you spread it out, you deal out some to each of several groups.
There's 6 baskets that are available, and there's $60,000. How about $10,000 a basket?
I'm going to try a radical concept here just because it's so much fun. Split it up where her work is happening, and if shellfish goes into negative, but the bottom line is balances out, that's the way it is. And we can come back and do reallocation, another reallocation later. In other words, if you said that a third of her time went against shellfish, so it showed that at the end of the day, the allocation under shellfish exceeded the 200,000 by $20,000. That's a negative in that column. And at the end of the day, you know, that's the way people run businesses sometimes. They've gone negative in some budgets and they're positive on others. They don't try to
But it's not
zero based. They don't try to do. I'm just using it as an example. They don't try to do zero based budgeting every month. They try to revisit their budgets once a year or once every 6 months to determine if there should be a reallocation. This is our first real crack at this. Yeah, and we're already 30,000 in the hole or 10,000 in the hole or whatever the number was from earlier under shellfish.
No, for next year sometime.
Well, no, there's a projection.
But you want
for next year.
some impetus. I like both of those ideas. You want some impetus.
There's a projection.
I mean, to some extent, different ones of us are managing different parts of this. You want some incentive for people not to waste money. I mean, people have different personalities about whether they're misers or not, and or spendthrifts. And I mean, some people's modus operandi is to save money wherever they can. Other people's modus is to grab money wherever they can. And
That's about right.
Nobody in between.
and there are people in between.
Well,
And so
that's interesting.
if you put 10K on each of 6 groups, then people we look at the numbers, we're getting a little bit of a message, which is a good thing.
No, I mean, in 4 months, maybe we look at it again and things are readjusted.
Well, that's true.
All right, so I've heard the idea, because I will be giving you a new thing,
Right.
which will also include the real oyster pond dollar amount. So I'm hearing 10K to each of the 6 baskets.
Win?
I think that makes sense. I think also that let's take shellfish cultivation as an example. We told the selectmen we didn't want to spend more than $132,000. That's not saying that that's the total. I mean, we're not saying anything about how much altogether we're going to have to spend on shellfish to make it go. We said this year we're not going to spend over $132,000. I think originally there was too little allocated to get the shellfish project going. And we're discovering that now, and there's nothing wrong with saying it's going to go negative. I think Steve's point is absolutely correct. There's nothing wrong in our internal discussions that it can go negative and someone else goes positive. So I think I agree with $10,000 out of each
All
one.
right.
So-
Any further discussion?
Just so we're clear, could you name those 6?
Okay, basket number 1 would be engineering / pond outlet, because it's managing the same contractor. To permeable reactive barriers, the next one, because shellfish we thought was tapped
We
out.
just said, we're
Including
going to put,
shellfish.
we're going to.
Oh, you want to put okay? Well,
Again?
now, okay.
Go negative.
Well, now you've got 7 baskets.
Well, no, I'm not sure that's
Go ahead.
correct.
Permeable reactive barriers a basket.
Yeah,
Composting municipals a basket.
That's 4.
Now, is that a basket?
okay.
Is that a basket? It's already used.
Well, it's unused.
It's unused.
As is
You took
composting
all of the
beach.
25
Okay,
out
but
of
she-
it.
Okay,
but she-
composting eco toilets is not a basket.
It's not a basket, okay.
Okay.
Road
Road
runoff is a basket.
Yeah.
Oyster pond is a basket. Baseline data is a basket.
Oh, I thought
No.
that wasn't.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, baseline data is a
MEP
basket.
SMAS
Okay.
is not.
Yes.
Because that's over and done with.
Yeah.
1, 2,
Okay.
3, 4,
So you got a lot
5,
more.
So you get 7 baskets.
7 baskets, okay.
You want to relieve shellfish with the 10,000?
Yes, let's relieve shellfish.
Yeah.
That's great.
I guess another way of what I'm saying is, if some people run their projects with a safety factor to be able to cover contingencies down the road without impinging on other people, it seems unfair to have them early on cover the people who run it with a negative safety factor.
Well, just in response, Steve, I think all of, as was said earlier, all of this funding amounts, the original funding amounts, completely pulled out of the air. Nobody had any idea.
Not even that much.
The only reason we have 500,000 for composting toilets is because I said,
Right.
hey, engineering's got $1 million, I want half of it. That's how I did it. You know?
How do you
Okay,
think things
so-
are done in the legislature?
That's how we do things. So anyway, that's.
That's right. If Springfield's
think-
getting money, I want money.
I don't want to penalize shellfish cultivation because it's a really interesting project and it can really.
Yeah.
But when we finish spending $2,772,250, we'll know exactly where the money went.
That's right.
All right, so we have our 6 baskets, 10K in each. Thank you.
We should be able to tell how much it
That
costs.
first group
Okay.
you're talking about.
We're going
should be able to tell how many- how
to
much we
adjourn at
spent
10
per pound
o'clock
of
tonight
nitrogen
because
removed.
Matt's getting tired. And, before we go, we have a presentation by Wynn on a
I
couple
do
of
this all
points
day long. I do this
under
all day
members
long.
and staff reports.
I want to give people copies of this new version 4 in case they didn't get this. So
Is that what you sent by email?
that's what I sent by email.
Okay.
Okay.
But I have copies if anybody wants them. And I also sent out little emails to everybody. I'll take the landscape workshop first because that's the simplest one to dispose of. At this point, it became clear after discussing this with Jerry and other people that it wasn't going to go anywhere this evening. There was no way we were going to get this done in time. I would only like to say that it would be very good if we would find some way of informing the professionals in the town that this is going on and make it. Do we have the names of? Does anyone have the names of the landscape professionals that we should inform, or is there some way of putting an ad in the newspaper or informing them that this is going on and that they might want to do it or something? Would someone make a suggestion, not necessarily tonight, of how we could do that?
Go to the phone book and call them,
Somebody could do that, yeah.
get the email, send.
Yeah. Somebody, I know I have some from earlier from Falmouth Friendly Lawns of a number of years ago. But it just seemed to me it would be a good idea that they knew about this and said this is a cheap way to get information about this.
Chamber of Commerce?
Hey, Chamber of Commerce, yeah. I'll ask
Jay?
Jay. I'll ask Jay Savala whether there's a good way
There
to do
are
that.
some associations too.
And say, okay. So I'll see if I can get the word out to as many people as possible. Yeah.
Barnstable County Cooperative Extension, let the Cooperative Extension know.
So the Barnstable County.
Yeah, Cooperative Extension, the president is Clark.
Bill Clark.
Phil Clark.
Bill Clark.
You could let him know, and he is he teaches a turf management class at the college, so you
All
can let
right,
him know,
okay.
he might
Right.
semi.
Hilda's right. I mean, how many landscapers are there in Falmouth in the Yellow Pages?
Lots and
In
lots of
Falmouth?
them,
And how
yes.
many
Lots
more
and
that
lots.
aren't in the Yellow Pages? Everybody
Well,
with
yeah.
a truck and a rake
Yeah.
in the springtime.
But they're not going to go to the court.
There must be, I don't know, 20, 30, 40, something like that.
Yeah,
A lot of
there's a lot of landscapers.
companies, and then there's a lot of people who do it. Okay, then this second thing, everybody must have gotten copies of this by now. I don't think we need to discuss the details of the session itself. We can still talk. We can talk about it if you want to. But I have 3 questions I wanted to ask. Are we able, if we need to do so, to provide part of the funding for this, and what needs to be done in order to do that? When I talked with Tona Marie, she said she was going to have Laurie, one of the people there at the reserve, work out how much that Laurie thought it would cost if it were done as a somewhere in a central location outside of Falmouth, and if we fed people there a lunch.
Wow.
She said, not a big lunch, not a complicated lunch. She said that Laurie told her immediately, said, ballpark figure, $2,000 to run the thing. Since we're not paying anybody don't have to pay anybody to come there, the cost would be something in that neighborhood, maybe more, maybe less, but about that amount. And she said that, she said, we could certainly come up with $1,000 of that. So with that, the implication that the Water Quality Management Committee might want to contribute $1,000 if we did it that way. There are other ways of doing it too. We could, and I discussed this with Tona Marie, I discussed having the project done at the Alchemy Farm, where the toilets are already. And I discussed this with Hilda. Hilda, you could say what you want to, but I'll just try to summarize what you said. It's going to cost a good deal to move the toilets from there to the other place. Quite a bit. I don't know how much, Hilda, you may have a figure by now, but quite a bit of money just to move the toilets, and a lot of circumstantial work to be done to get those toilets over there and then get them back to the
Makes no sense.
to the center. And Tona Marie's only point about having it somewhere else was it would be easier to get people there from down Cape and so forth, from other towns. And since the whole purpose is to get people from other towns, she thought it would be better to have it done outside of Falmouth in a central location somewhere else. But the only reason for that she gave was it would be easier to get people to come there. So we put that against the fact that it would be expensive to move the things. It would add to the $2,000 a considerable amount of money. And I don't know how much it would cost if we did it at the Alchemy Farm. I don't know how much it would cost to do it there. We'd have to work that out. We could get a quote from Hilda and Earl on how much it would cost to do that. Yes.
We've run several of these things, Hilda, Earl, and myself, and others, Ron. And I don't think we've ever spent $2,000 on lunch.
No, this is not lunch. You have to hire a place and lunch.
Okay, well,
Most of the places you go, if you hire a call, you're going to have to pay something for that.
But Hilda can easily underbid the high-end.
well, that's what I was.
Oh, we lived from nothing for years.
Well, but you could probably give Hilda and Earl some money and buy a lunch and still come in at $1,000. I don't even know, but less than $2,000.
If it's at
Champagne's not. If it's at Alchemy Farm, yeah.
Well, we just got a caterer or Unanimously Farm and we get a price from them.
Yeah.
I'm not in the catering business.
No, we just ordered roll witches from the box lunch.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
They closed.
Well, same idea.
If this is going to attract people from all over the Cape to hear what Falmouth's doing, the Cape Cod Commission has got to be a sponsor.
That's the second question.
They've got to be the sponsor.
That's the second question.
Nobody's going to come to Falmouth to hear from us.
Right.
Or even from Webner. You know, it's a Cape Cod Commission, and they've got religion now, but I think they understand this is something that's on the table.
This is one of the regional solutions they should be promoting.
They got millions.
That's right. They got 3.4 million,
Some of it's
Right.
supposed to go to education.
Which
That's
is unbelievable.
isn't it?
I don't know,
Why didn't we get it?
we have 2.7 million. We're not that far behind.
Because we're
Yeah,
actually
but we
doing.
pay for it ourselves.
We're
It's
actually
not
doing
coming from
something.
the state,
We're doing, right.
and we're doing it.
That was the second point I wanted to make. We
Talked a lot.
Should we look for other
some
sponsors,
done.
partly for the reason that maybe we could get some money out of the Cape Cod Commission to do this? And it seems to me that we could certainly ask them, we could certainly see whether that was possible.
They should put in the money, and they should be a co-sponsor. There's no question.
I would say we should suggest to the Cape Cod Commission that they have a great opportunity for advancing a regional initiative, and we're willing to bring our knowledge to their initiative and present it.
I don't think that they should be the people who present this myself.
No, we would.
No, I said they should set it up, and we should present it for them.
Yeah, they'd be the sponsor, but
They'd sponsor, and we present.
Rather than having Webner sponsor it.
well, them and Webner, you know, whatever.
I think the consensus is that the cash flow should be from the Cape Cod Commission and Webinar to Hilda.
Yes. Exactly.
We're not in the loop.
Steve, you're 3 for 3 tonight.
That's right.
Climbing up his status.
Yeah.
He's on a roll.
And I reject Tanya Marie's premise that if you're coming from Provincetown or Wellfleet or even Chatham, it's a small marginal cost to come to the new Alchemy and see the things there without the moving versus going to high end.
Yeah, they could tie it with a trip to Market Basket.
Sure.
Okay. I think that's good. Great. That's good information.
Walmart. We can do this. Okay,
So-
you're getting some guidance here.
So
I think.
I've got to go back to
McDonald's
Tana
is
Marie and
sitting
talk with her
here.
about this, since she's the one who is offering
Product
to
placement.
sponsor this. She has some pushback on having sponsors sponsored by Cape Cod Commission. I got to find out what that's about.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You already talked to her about that?
Well, she just made a note. Oh, you want to have the Cape Cod Commission sponsor it too? We need to talk about that.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
So there's.
Well-
Interesting backstory.
So I mean, we just have to talk about
As
that.
they said in the 70s, follow the money.
I see 3.4 million of it.
So the only comment I would want to make, I think this is a lot of fun and it's great to roll out our successes. We're going to have more information to present, substantive collection of data, how these installations went, some documentation of what really happened, even though we got permits and approvals, what happened when we started opening up walls and drilling holes in floors, later than April.
Okay.
I've been thinking about the timing of this. I've been thinking about, the variance. We're going before the Board of Health on Monday with the urine diverting application. It's going to go to the state next week, hopefully after that. It seems to me that if we were to do this in the fall, I don't mean at all to not want to do something sooner, but I'm just saying we'll have more substantive results by the end of the summer.
I agree with you that that's true.
Okay.
I think that we are at a cusp in the Cape Cod in getting eco-toilets on the discussion agenda in other towns. And I have more reason for doing it than just presenting all the information we have. We have enough information, it seems to me, about how we have set the program up, what they can do, and I honestly believe that it may be possible to get some towns to cooperate with us in adding numbers of people
Great.
by doing this. Even if we get one town to put one person, we've paid for it.
All right. Well, we'll get some guidance here.
We'll
Cape,
get
Cape Cod Commission, pick your date, but let's get them in on the
Yeah, I think,
and get the money to
I think that's
Hatchville.
good.
Just a quick remark, I don't quite agree on that. I think most towns are so not aware of this option of eco-toilets that any information, just to even understand what they look like, is better than giving them no information and waiting till we have more data, because our data will never be ended. years.
Sure.
Just give them something to think about even.
I-
Anything.
Fair enough.
I agree
And
with you.
actually,
That's- I think
you're right.
that's important.
Seeing them at your center is
It's
important.
totally different.
Yes.
And most people have no idea.
Right. Okay, any other reports from members of staff? Okay, if not, any correspondence? If not, discussion and vote on adopting the minutes of January 1st meeting, which were sent around. Virginia had a couple of changes, which were...
Changes were made except for one, which is line 2 at the top of the page, says minutes of
It's the
December
date.
20th.
I know.
The date.
Okay, it should say January 31st, 2013.
So I have fixed that.
You would fix that.
And I can send them back around to Christie.
Okay,
Okay.
any other additions or
Or
corrections
you
to
can
be
just
made?
write it in.
Yes.
There we go, that's the
Right,
spirit.
we'll save it. Move approval.
Okay, moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Got it. Matt, your motion?
I move with German.
Second, all in favor?
Second.
Aye. Thank you.